me, y'all blockalos.
Hey everybody! Welcome to Little Monsters Movie Podcast.
Hi, droogies.
Oh, I so much wanted to get my little top hat, my white shirt, my milk eyelash going. I have a cup of milk, but we didn't go out. But anyways,
we didn't go to the Corova today.
we didn't go to the Corova. But welcome to Little Monsters Movie Podcast. We're doing A Clockwork Orange, 1971. Stanley Kubrick. He's having an orgasm over here. I agree.
There's only two directors I really just love everything. That's Kubrick and Sergio Leone, and those two, they have their own sections on my shelf. You know, I've got my little Blu-ray DVD shelf, and I have the Stanley Kubrick section and the Sergio Leone collection.
Stanley Kubrick.
I guess you could say I also have Chaplin and Buster Keaton.
Right.
All right, but few people, very, very few people get their own little section alphabetically on my shelf.
And Stanley Kubrick, man. I know there's people that either love him or hate him, but I love him.
Who would hate Stanley?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I don't know, man.
Who out there hates Stanley?
You gotta be crazy to hate him. I mean, that early 70s start, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, we're saying the late 60s, mid-60s. I think Stanley had gotten into films and did a film called Fear and Desire. That was his first movie, which he later tried to buy up every copy he could because he was embarrassed of it. I've seen it. It's okay. It's a guy learning his craft, Oh,
yeah.
Then he did a noir flick called Killer's Kiss, which isn't a bad movie, and The Killing, which we were just talking about.
Film noir, love it.
A racetrack robbery, another noir film. And after that, he did Paths of Glory with Kirk Douglas, which is a World War I film. And because of his relationship with Kirk Douglas, he got the gig when the director got fired for Spartacus. Right. It was a big budget, biblical, epic movie. Yeah. Good movie, but not a Kubrick movie.
Right.
After that, he went kind of quiet and did Lolita, which, if you've never read the book or seen the film, it's about a middle-aged man who's got a thing for prepubescent girls, 12, 14 years old.
It was a great movie, though.
Yeah, with Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers was in there.
And that movie it wasn't so much heavily censored, but he was restricted, Lolita I'm talking about. Yeah. He was restricted to what he was able to film and what he wasn't able to film. Right. Whereas the book might have been a little bit more erotic in some places. He could not do that in the film. He later said, if I knew that going in, I probably never would even bothered making the movie. If you couldn't make it his way.
Yeah.
The water. We got a flood. Then Dr. Strangelove. And this is where I feel as a fan, not that Kubrick wasn't, an artist and building his craft, but I think starting with Dr. Strangelove and then 2001: A Space Odyssey for show. Yeah. This is where Kubrick, the consummate artist, appears.
The artist, yeah. I was going to say that for this movie, everything you see in this movie is art.
Right.
I mean, every
purposeful,
scene
with meaning.
Yes, everything.
And I was just saying, I'm going to delve balls deep into this movie.
And this is futuristic Britain.
Dystopian, yeah.
Weird, kind of. I mean, I don't even know how to say it. I mean,
and it's still there's a few things in the movie that may date it, and I'll point those out as we go.
Right.
But I still think it's
is it Andy Warhol futuristic or? I don't know. Kubrick's got his own style.
He used the book. He used the book and did his own touches here and there. But he did this right. He started this in 1971. This was a film that Kubrick was known for several things. Number one, being a control freak, being in control of every aspect of his films, editing them. Marketing them. Mm-hmm. He would even dictate the sizes that the newspaper ads had to be in. Yep. And he would measure them.
Everybody took a leak at 5 o'clock every day.
When he said to do it. But I read that he would go, he would get all the newspapers and measure and make sure that they're the sizes that he said that they should be, the ads, in your Friday paper when you get it for the movies.
A little bit of OCD going on.
He was just very in control of his art. And
OCD.
Also known for multiple takes, sometimes 50, 60 takes.
OCD. He's got a problem.
Well, his idea...
Things got to be perfect. And
man, the idea...
Wait.
I'm even going to talk about your girl Nicole Kidman here. Because
you go right at
when you keep doing it and you get an actor. You get an actor that knows what they're doing. They come in there, they know their lines. Mm-hmm. But what about the emotions that go with it and on the situation? Yeah. You might be able to hit the mark and hit your lines, and it's probably for most directors it's fine. Yeah. But let's do it again. Let's just keep doing it until you get to the point of frustration, and then the emotions start to get more raw and real. And then it really comes out. Maybe that 56th take is the good one.
Oh,
maybe
no,
the second one is. Who knows?
Right.
But, his last film, Eyes Wide Shut, I think that was like a 2-year production, something like that.
Yeah.
They were on that set for a long time.
It was a grind. I remember Nicole Kidman.
Hubba.
The opening scene of Eyes Wide Shut.
That's got to be your favorite
It's
of all time.
No, it's, yeah. It's
but, when you sign,
I have it rolling through the house all day long on multiple TVs. when kids aren't home, just keeps rolling. I go, and I'm off to the living room.
The good Chris Isaac song at the beginning there. Well, at least in the trailer anyway.
A bit of the out in out in out. If you know the movie,
So he was just.
I'm dirty.
Go ahead. He was, yes. But trying new things, developing lenses. He invented lenses like to use in Barry Lyndon, which is the film he did after Clockwork Orange, because they did some scenes just lit by candlelight.
Yeah.
Now, come on, you're not gonna,
right.
You're not gonna real candlelight. All right, we always joke every time someone lights a candle in a movie how it brightens up the whole room. He had special lenses and things like that.
He's an artist.
An artist is what I'm trying to get at.
I hear you.
And you just get done making what is arguably the greatest science fiction movie of all time, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yep.
Movie that people still talk about. Hell, it's even playing... That and Clockwork Orange are playing together, I think, this weekend at one of the local theaters by us. The Valley View Theater.
Cinema?
Yeah.
They're playing it?
Yeah. Both of them back to back.
Holy Moses, I didn't know that.
Right. Okay. So, take the kids to see Clockwork Orange.
I don't think so. Cool.
But...
they should have those popsicle shaped.
The suckers for the kids.
Yeah, penis shaped popsicles.
What happened to yours, my love?
Yours, it's all bent over. Which we get to that.
But you just get done making that film, and I love, even if you go on like Wikipedia, you can't even get like a concrete what the budget for that movie was. It says like $12 to $13 million or what, 10 to 13 million. Nobody knew. And then
it's probably 12.5 million.
Who knows?
Or 20.
But you make what is, which as time has gone by, people have appreciated that film more and more.
Oh yeah.
So what do you do next? What do you do after that? You go and you make a small $2.2 million science fiction dystopian movie that still resonates today, and I think still has some meaning. Today, what the ideas that the film and the book for the matter, because I've also read the book, and I'll tie in with the book what I remember. The meaning behind the book still kind of crime's still just as much of a problem, if not more of a problem today. You can't turn on the news without hearing about a shooting or something like that, and the degeneration of the family and society and political system.
And just putting people behind bars and not really doing much about it.
Right. Rehabilitation is still a problem.
So their take on this is just, very, very different
extreme
and extreme,
And
what is it called? Experiment aversion therapy.
That's right. The Ludovico treatment, as they call it in the movie.
Oh.
And basically what they're going to end up doing, Tim, is basically like what Pavlov did. If like Pavlov's dogs. It's an association thing. But, that's my little spiel on Kubrick. I love Stanley Kubrick's films. Watch them all.
Do you really like Stanley Kubrick, though?
No.
He likes Ted. Ted likes him very much so. So do I. Hey, after seeing this movie, man, the appreciation of putting your art and your effort into a film is just...
And this is really what he became. He became this...
And this is what I love. I love this stuff.
First of all, carte blanche. He could do what he wanted.
Yeah. And I love the whole... first of all, I love BBC. I love the English. Just their style of films, TV, all that. Even now. I'm talking current times.
I think the quality is better.
Yeah, a lot of times I prefer them over that. But...
the quality of the writing, the comedy.
So that alone I like, but how they, put all of that in the futuristic British society is just really cool. And this opening scene with Malcolm McDowell,
just that close up of the face,
with the eyelash and just bringing up the milk. That's at what is it? The Korova Milk Bar.
Korova Milk Bar.
And there's something in there.
The Korova Milk Bar sold Milk Plus, Velicet, Synthomesk, or Drencrum, which is what we were drinking. And
for why?
It would sharpen you up and get you ready for a little bit of the ultraviolence.
The ultraviolence,
now,
yes.
One thing, if you've never seen this film, and damn it, you should not be watching this if you haven't seen this film. You know, pop in your DVD or your Blu-ray now and listen to us.
Yes, come back and rewatch it. See what we got to say about it. But
the book was Anthony Burgess is the author of the book, and
Burgess Meredith.
Anthony Burgess.
Oh, he did Rocky.
Yeah, Mickey wrote it. And he was also a linguist, loved languages, and he kind of
halfway in the middle of the movie, we're going to beat the living crap out of each other.
You got your stick, yeah.
Bloody nose and everything.
Going to tall Chuck. You got your big penis.
Yeah.
And he kind of put together
the paper mache penis didn't dry in time.
Oh man!
But anyways, go ahead.
And he created a sort of a teen slang called nadsat. And it's a mixture of like Russian, Eastern European, and English. And some people are a little put off by the words. You're like, oh, what the,
Yeah.
We're trying to make up our razuduks but it is all based in real language. And if you listen to the film, you can tell what they're saying.
Right.
You know, you could tell. We're trying to make up our razuduks, what to do with the evening. I mean, you can do that.
Yeah, there's some words in the film that you're like...
Oh. But, pretty ballsy. I mean, if they were to make that movie now, there's no way you'd need a glossary to give to people when they bought their ticket. That's what they did with Dune when Dune
Here's the words
out.
In the film and the definitions to them.
It just shows the difference that, like I said, Dune, when David Lynch made the Dune movie, when you went to the theater, I remember they gave you a little pamphlet that had... Because they don't tell you what those words in Dune mean. You just have to know. And I think that's what they'd have to do if this film was made today.
Well, and the movie
to
is
keep the language
set in the future, so to put those words in there like that,
right?
Kind of a cool thing.
So,
but anyways, yeah.
The premise of the movie is, you got these 4 droogs, 4 gang members.
Alex, Dim, George, and Pete.
That's right.
Georgie.
Dim being very dim.
Yeah.
And
the bulldog.
This dystopian British society, which
Malcolm McDowell is just so great in this movie.
And the fact that he was not nominated for an Academy Award for that role. He was nominated for a Golden Globe, but not an Academy Award for this. I mean, Clockwork Orange was nominated for a few others.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of controversy about the movie.
It's always like that when they're taking on a role like this that's not proper.
But unfortunately,
other people tend to get the.
This was like one of his first roles. Maybe his second big motion picture role.
Yeah.
And not saying, I love Malcolm McDowell. He's done lots. He's always the most magnetic thing in any movie he's in.
Yes.
He's very charismatic, even in person when you listen to him talk. But how do you do a performance like this and not get some kind of recognition? I mean, I think the world realizes he did a hell of a performance.
Oh yeah, history.
To have a statue on the table would be nice.
Exactly.
So. But this world we live in this film, is a dystopian, futuristic. We don't know what year it is. British society, bordering on fascist, socialist government, and
almost got that 1984 feel to it.
Definitely.
Where they throw it to the future, but it's still dark and And there's some scenes I can't show because we're
right. And kids are just running around in gangs, doing whatever the hell they want. No law and order is not doing its job. Let's put it that way. There's breakdown of the family, which we'll see in Alex's family. Mm-hmm. And this one particular gang, Alex and his droogs, they sit at the Kurova milk bar and they drink milk laced with drugs.
And they're all just...
And they go out at night looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Whether it's raping, fighting, stealing... they do it all.
And Alex has a nice drawer underneath his bed that he pulls out that he's
later
got,
on,
like tons of money,
cash, watches, cameras,
and stuff.
gold.
But we passed up where after they got all ready for the ultraviolence, because the old guy comes into play later in the movie.
Yeah, there's an old bum wino singing, "I'm Scotland's a British."
Scottish songs or something like that.
Yeah, and go on, please.
Oh no, and he comes up to him, starts playing.
They all start clapping.
Yeah, and he puts the cane.
Because he holds a cane.
Yeah, and right in his stomach, and they start beating the crap out of him.
Right.
And then
and pretty viciously.
Oh,
and
bloody him up. I thought he'd be dead, but he wasn't. This guy's face, man.
Billy Boy.
Yeah, then the next scene they pop.
It's really just like scene after scene of their
violence.
This is all one night. This one night, they beat up this old man. That's not enough for them.
No.
They go down by the derelict casino, and there's another gang with 5 guys, Billy Boy and his 4 droogs. And they had a young Devotchka there with them who they were about to perform a little of the old in-out.
Yes. Basically.
Did you understand what I just said? They got a young girl, and they're about to rape her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a terrible scene watching this girl fight and struggle.
Oh, it is. And
you almost see her kind of like giving up a little bit at the end. You know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know?
No, this movie is very dark, and I would say you should be old enough before you watch.
It was rated
this
X when it came out.
Yeah, before you watch this movie, because the violence in it and the rape and the stuff like that goes on is just and terrible. That
you also have to understand that this film is narrated by Alex, a criminal, a sociopath. Mm-hmm. And as the movie goes on, you sort of develop a relationship with Alex because he's the one telling you the story from his point of view. And you begin to sympathize and root for, or whatever, Alex, when he's really a terrible person through and through.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Terrible through and through. And I love this scene with the car and the green screen in the back with them just going down the road in this car.
It goes on longer than it needs to. Like where it just keeps going. Like in a normal movie, it keeps going.
That's the art of it.
And it just keeps going to a point where, okay, we're still watching this. And it's like, now it makes sense. Now it's cool because they're just ripping down the road in this Durango 95.
Yes, that's what it was, the Durango 95.
Little lyric in a Rob Zombie song, if you like that.
Yes.
No,
I love it.
But we should back up just a little.
I know. I'm jumping ahead just for the scene's
it's such a great movie. You just want to keep going and going. But they get into a big fight with Billy Boy.
Yeah. And they have no... They're no competition for him.
Bodies
Alex
flying.
Alex and them are beating the crap out of these other.
If there's a table or glass, it's getting smashed. Chairs over people's heads. And the last scene of the fight is they're just beating each guy. And the cops are coming and they
go, oh, sirens.
Yeah.
And that's when they shoot to them in the Durango.
Steal a car. This is not their car. Obviously, they stole it.
And they're going, oh, yeah, everything's stolen, take.
Right.
Kill,
they're
whatever, I don't think they mean to kill, but they mean to be violent and take them to that edge. But
I don't think they even care.
They're probably not, yeah. But later in the film, he kind of freaks out about it. But anyways,
they're playing Hogs of the Road.
Yeah, and first you see they're coming right down the road, and you see a car coming, and
a motorcycle
flies off the road. A little bit
more.
Like
someone crashes into like a garage or a barn and
tears it apart. It's like
pickup truck, like a Mack truck,
but blocking the road.
They skid under.
Yeah, because it's so low to the ground.
Right.
I mean, this thing's like 2 feet off the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
It's almost like
a Lamborghini or something,
But what was it? A one lane road?
Just an old country road.
Because they were like
where my grandparents live in West Virginia. There's the road doesn't have like a divider in between.
Yeah.
When you go around, like they live up in the mountains, West Virginia, like the whites of West Virginia. They're the next county over, actually. Yeah. But like they live up in the mountain. When you go around the curve of a mountain, you have to like beep your horn and stuff to let people know you're coming.
Otherwise, they're flying.
Unless you're my grandfather, because he would just fly down there. When you live there all your life, you're hell with it.
God. This is where I think Andy Warhol kind of.
The house that they come to?
Yeah, it's got that kind of art to it, to where I don't know if that's it looks like a Warhol type thing. I mean, how she's sitting in a cool ass chair.
Cool? Yeah.
Where the lid comes off.
They drive to a home. They're going to play another little game they like to play, which is basically what do they call it? Home invasion.
Yes.
Basically, this is a home invasion they like to do. And they come to a house and there's a sign out front that says home.
It says home.
And that's going to come into play later in the film.
Yeah.
They sneak in and they have a little scam that they do. They knock on the door.
Oh my God!
And they say, what do they say? My friend's in the road bleeding to death. Can I use your telephone?
Yes, my mate's bleeding to death on the road.
So maybe there's one thing that dates the movie because everyone has cell phones.
Yeah.
And her husband is a writer. He's sitting at a table typing. And you're right, that house is tripped out.
Oh, bright colors, camera effects, the nose, penis nose or something.
They wear masks.
He's got some weird. Yeah, they got masks, and it's It's kind of like
the house.
Eyes Wide Shut. Another
Sorta.
Kubrick. He's kind of got the old mask going on in her stuff. But
he says, "Let them in," and they immediately start attacking.
Because she's like, I'll get the she didn't want to let him in.
Yeah, who lets a stranger in their house in the middle of the night?
But the old guy says, "You better let him in." Oh.
And do you remember the scene when they're coming in? And Alex just kicks the husband right in the face.
Yes.
And their outfits are cool. They're wearing like cricket outfits with the ball cover, the jock strap thing on the outside and suspenders, army military boots, bowler hats.
Love the bowler hats.
Yeah, and each gang's got their own style that they wear.
Yeah.
Like when we said Billy Boy and that other, they all wore like camouflage motorcycle kind of, biker dude kind of outfits. And cool. All the droogs start just beating the
Alex
husband and wife.
Georgie and Pete.
And while he's doing it, he's singing in the rain.
Yes.
And there's a little story behind that when they were making the film, they beat the husband. They're holding him down. Mm-hmm. They gag him, both of them, the wife and the husband.
With it looks like Scotch tape, not
duct tape. And a little bouncy ball, like stick in their mouth and
so it doesn't really help,
right?
But nevertheless,
and he really enjoys himself when he's going at the wife. She's wearing a long red sort of pantsuit, and he just like takes this and cuts the boob part out first.
Yeah, pulls it out, cuts it, and you see the exposure of the boobs.
And cuts the dress off, and then he gets undressed. And, wearing the mask, he gets right in the guy's face and says, "Vidi well, little brother, vidi well."
She is a ginger.
Watch what I'm going to do.
She's
a ginger. But when they were filming the scene, Stanley Kubrick kind of thought, the rape scene just, it needed something. It's just, it wasn't... I don't know if it wasn't disturbing. It's just something wasn't right about it.
Uh-huh.
So when they were, he told Malcolm McDowell, can you do something? Maybe do a little dance or something. And so he's like, yeah, I can do that. And he was doing that, and then he started singing that song, "Singing in the Rain."
Really? And that was just thrown out there.
It was a total ad lib. And Stanley loved it. He's like, you got to do that. Keep doing that. And I mean, obviously, it changed the way that the story played out in the end, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, like someone tapped Stanley Kubrick, like, we don't have the rights to that song. And he's like, get the rights to the song, because it was the Gene Kelly singing in the rain
right,
song.
Yeah.
And he's like, so you have to get the song now that they've put it in the movie, because it was perfect. Once you've seen it, you can't hear that song the same way anymore. And even though they don't graphically show him raping the wife, you see her. And
I mean, the Dim is holding her back,
right?
There,
he's holding
and
her,
she's kind of just like all up in arms,
struggling. But
and Malcolm McDowell, right before he does the ode and out, goes down to the camera angles to the husband or whoever the guy is there. Is down there, and Malcolm's face gets right up close to him, and he's taunting him, and then gets back, and it's disturbing, and they don't need to show that, And then they're done, I guess, for the night, and they head back to the Korova Milk Bar.
For a nightcap.
And
let's describe the bar for a second. Because it's all a bunch of tables and chairs that are made out of naked women mannequins.
Black and white.
Yeah,
okay,
very
so it's all
stark.
black and white.
The walls are black.
Yes.
All the
light bulbs, plain old white light bulbs everywhere.
And
naked mannequins.
With very different colored hair. Blue, orange...
Which is, I love that, where like even his mom,
and that's not described in the book.
Hair.
That's not described in the book.
He threw that in there.
Yeah, that's
his version. But how the older people will have like pink, purple, whatever,
right, the
blue
makeup,
wigs.
the weird makeups that they wear.
I love it. Yeah.
And you get the way you get your drink. You put a little coin in, and it's a naked lady, her breasts there, and you take a glass and pull the lever, and the milk comes out of the breast, and
the lever, a button.
Button, yeah. I'm sorry, button.
Red button.
And they're sitting there.
Future's always got the red button.
Push buttons, no levers, no dick sticks.
Man.
And they're sitting there having their drink.
You know what I love too is the eyeballs on their.
Alex is the only one that has that.
He has them, yeah.
Yeah, that is so sweet.
It's like, but anyways.
I mean, and I know that Malcolm McDowell kind of helped design the costume as well. Said that he kind of chipped in some ideas too, which is cool.
Great.
The collaboration. And they're sitting there having their drink, and across the way he says there's some sophistos from the TV studio down the street.
And this is him narrating it. A lot of the movie is just the narration.
And we're going to learn another little thing about Alex, is that she starts, the girl's sitting with a bunch of guys, and
she starts to sing
a part from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Yes, Ludwig von Beethoven.
He gets very
emotional a little bit.
He's a lover of music.
Yes.
He's very cultured with his music. You know, a lot of classical music, and especially the lovely, lovely Ludwig van. And Dim makes some little, like that, and without even looking, he's watching the lady.
Yes,
boom, takes that cane and wham,
right on his lap.
Tall chalks him right on the leg.
And he's
telling the lady, and the lady stops singing. He's just like, what did you do that for, my brother?
My brother.
For not knowing how to conduct yourself public life, my brother. And this is where we start to see the dissension in the gang.
I was going to say that. Yeah, they slowly, like...
Dim kind of...
Who do you think you are doing
Dim's kind of stupid, and he mouths off.
Yeah.
I'm not your brother, nor do I want to be.
Yeah.
And Alex just looks at him, really?
And Georgie and Dim's the ones that's going to kind of... Pete's kind of...
Yeah, Pete doesn't really do much.
He's kind of, very quiet and whatever. You can see it in his face that he's pissed off and angry. But then we get to
he even says, I'll meet you, I'll fight you, whatever. And Alex is looking at him, and he says, a nose scrap anytime you say, which a nose is the NADSAT for a knife. Knife fight anytime you say. And he backs off, he knows. Yeah. And actually in the book, he's older in the film, obviously, but in the book, Alex is only supposed to be 15 years old. All these guys are...
because technically, like right now, he's going back home to his mom and dad's, and he's taking a leak in the bathroom. See, this is all...
And even when they walk in the apartment building, like the lobby, it's all destroyed. To show the elevators broke, there's tree branches.
There's a bra and a banister going up,
and there's a mural on the wall, which is very reminiscent to communist art that you would have seen in Russia. It's all the little workers doing the work, and they've all defaced it with graffiti, with penises and things like that all over the place.
There's the box of goodies.
Yeah, he gets upstairs, and the house, just the style that Kubrick...
It's almost like that late 60s style with the colors and stuff. I guess you can't escape
with a little futuristic flair to it.
Right, you can't escape that, I guess, because of the era it's in, know. Even if you make a movie now and try to make a future... 20 years from now, you're still going to see, stuff from that, And
I think if it wasn't just for a couple little things, this movie wouldn't be dated at all.
Right.
He throws his money in there, his earnings.
His snake under there too that he
loves. He's got the drawer with his snake, Basil, his snake, which is not in the book. That's just a little thing they added.
Basil, my snake.
And he says, the perfect way to end the night is a little bit of lovely Ludwig van, and he takes a micro cassette.
Yes,
That's the other thing that dates the movie, I guess. And,
they thought that was so futuristic, probably.
Well, it was. I mean, 20 years later, we all had micro cassettes in college and stuff like that, and he pops it in, and he's listening to his music. But it's not, he's someone who actively listens. The music inspires him. It brings him vivid thoughts, but unfortunately, they're all very violent thoughts.
Yeah.
You get flashes of him as a vampire. Explosions, people, dropping from a gallows, being hung. Remember, it looks like cavemen and the rocks are falling down?
Yeah.
That's from 1 million years BC with Raquel Welch. A little bit of the movie there.
Yeah, so that
it just brings those visions to his head, which is the opposite of what the music should do.
Oh, right. He doesn't understand the concept, I think. A sociopath just don't know.
Right, he can't empathize with anyone else. It's...
Ted Bundy, he doesn't even understand that anything's wrong. Okay, so I killed a bunch of people. What's wrong? He doesn't feel it. So this is kind of...
That pretty much.
Because even when he's... I mean... You guys are going to watch the movie anyways. I mean, this is an older movie. But jumping ahead a little bit, even when he's, speaking to the preacher, we'll get to about that. They think he's thinking good thoughts, and but he's sitting there going, he's thinking the parts where he's the Roman soldier whipping the Jesus Christ going to the crucifix, and he's got a big smile on his face like he's an angel, and so anyways,
and that carries through the entire story.
Yes,
even to the very end.
Exactly.
So, which I'll get to with my little interpretation of the end. But Mom goes to wake, and you're right. How she's got the purple hair.
Yes.
Old lady with a purple wig, and
are you going to school today?
No, pain in the Gulliver.
Pain in the Gulliver. It should be it should be a bit better after lunchtime.
What does he say? I better sleep it off. I'm liable to miss a lot more school. Gotta get fit.
And he's supposed to be a high school
He's got
kid.
the window shade with Ludwig van Beethoven on there. I mean,
there's no way of getting away from any of the art.
There's a real
in the whole
interesting
movie.
Jesus statue in there that it's like 4 Jesuses naked.
Yeah.
With nails in their wrists and feet and the halo of thorns. They've all got their arms up like that.
Yeah, all together in one scene.
But here's where we see like the parents aren't all that involved. They don't know what he's going on with him.
Well, she comes out and says he hasn't been to school in a week, and
he's not feeling well, Dad.
Yeah,
and I wonder what it is he does every evening. They're not involved with their child.
No,
they don't know what he's doing, and we learn from this film that he has been in trouble before.
Right.
And, but it's been, juvenile kind of crimes. And the parents just, they're disassociated. And in some ways, I think maybe they're a little afraid of him.
No, it could be. Because he might be so violent in the way he talks even to them. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, that bravado and stuff to him. Yes. And I love the lock that he's got on.
Yeah, he's got like a combination lock.
Combination shaped lock. And as he's getting up and picking at his butt and stuff down the hall, he walks, and he's supposed to be a high school kid, too, going to school and stuff like that. But he passes the door, and he sees some guy sitting on the bed.
Yeah, in his parents' room.
Yeah. So he goes, And
it turns out to be Mr. Deltoid, who is his post-corrective advisor, which would be like probably like a juvenile probation officer. Yeah. And, he says, I ran into your mother. She says
he's a pervert, man. You could tell.
And there's an interesting, and I never really kind of put it all together until I shouldn't say put it all together, but I didn't think about it this way until after I watched it last night for the podcast, is, he's, he's got a certain inflection in his voice that's real, so your mother, she gave me the key, not pain in the head sense, not in school today. And he knows Alex is bad.
Oh, yeah.
And he's telling him, I guess...
He's pulling his hair because he's got authority over him.
He kind of heard, he said that, Billy Boy and his gang members got rushed to the hospital.
And your name was mentioned.
Your name was mentioned. Your friend's name was mentioned. Nobody can prove anything, of course. But he's warning him,
And he's going, I'm a good boy. I've been in all night.
Right, he's like, the Millicents have nothing on me, brother. Sir. Yes. And the thing of it is,
Ted knows every word by heart.
Well, I've seen this. I've been obsessed with this movie since high school, and
there was so much in here. I wish I could remember all the lines too, but
it just goes to show again the slang that they use. When he's with an adult, he can certainly talk normal.
Right.
He doesn't use it with them. But the post-corrective advisor is telling him, it's just...
And what's with him throwing him down on the bed and holding him down?
See, this is what I'm getting at here.
Grabbing... Yeah.
He's like, it's been a little bit too long to be safe. You're about due. Next time, you're going to he says, the big Bari place, not the juvenile correction school. Mm-hmm. And all my hard work, down the drain. And he's like, if you don't have any respect for yourself, have respect for me, the one person who's trying to save you from yourself.
Yes.
And he reaches down, just grabs his balls.
Yes. And he goes, oh!
Now, Alex doesn't react like you and I would probably react if some strange guy just went and grabbed our balls.
Right.
It's almost like he's a little he don't like it, but he's accepting of it.
Yeah.
What's gone on here before? I mean, the guy...
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm not saying that maybe he's taking advantage of the boy, but...
Oh, and do you like he picks up the glass of water after he's all worked up, which is another reason you think perverted. He's a perverted
He's a little
guy.
heated up.
Yeah, so these boys get to him.
I think that
could be a little inflection towards that kind of concept.
Another degradation of society.
Yeah.
Someone who's supposed to be helping children.
I
get the feeling that he's got a little bit of hots for him.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
Alex just kind of plays along.
Yeah, I don't think we know that anything really ever happened, but it tends to make it seem like he's that kind of person that takes advantage of the boys he's got authority over. Right. But man, when he picks up that glass, he doesn't know there's false teeth in there. And he's still sitting there. He takes a drink. He's still sitting there talking to him, Alex. And then he drinks the rest of it down.
He looks
Ted, priceless. And it's gross.
It's just, oh.
You've got teeth in here.
Who in the world?
First of all, who goes over like this and just grabs whatever's over it without looking at it, you know?
And both of them went to work. Who's not wearing their teeth?
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true, too. Anyways, then they go to, he gets dressed and he goes out to
what a neat outfit he's wearing, too.
Oh,
it's sort of like an old...
Victorian,
17th century Victorian jacket with frills, and he's got his cane, and it's like a little bazaar kind of place that he's at.
I mean, you guys see, they all look like 1971. Yeah. I mean, look at the
magazines,
people in there
records,
and stuff like that.
They still sell records,
and the record of 2001: Space Odyssey right at the desk that he stops
the
at.
The Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour is up on the top shelf there when he gets there. And
so that's the future. They're still there in the future,
I guess. The other thing that dates the movie, young kids buying music,
albums,
paying for music. But these aren't torrent sites.
Albums.
These aren't zip files. What is this?
And what's with the colored lights on the thing? Is that the top 10 list of the music out? Maybe.
I think so,
albums,
because there's a couple of young girls also looking at the records. He's going to pick up something that he ordered.
Yeah. And I think they're both licking a popsicle
penis-shaped
sucker, big gigantic penis-shaped
and
sucker.
Doing them sort of provocatively.
Yeah, and the one girl in purple is bent.
Hers is bent, yeah.
Like it melted or something.
Meanwhile, Alex just kind of sleazes his way in between, and
pardon me, girl.
He's just like, enjoying that, are you, my darling? What's happened to yours?
I like how he just goes right up and he licks it too.
And just to say, in the book, these girls were 10.
They were 10.
They were 10 years old.
Nuh-uh.
In the book. These
really?
10 years old. And for the scene that's coming up, he drugged them.
I'm going to have to read the book then.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm going to have to read the book. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was 15, these girls were 10. So,
wow. Because, because
there's something coming up.
Yeah.
And, they ask him, who are you getting, Fab Freddy, whatever, whatever pop groups.
Fab Freddy, whatever.
And basically, he uses a lot of NADSAT when he's talking to him. He's like, what you got to play your fuzzy wobbles on back home, little sister? And basically saying, come with me and listen to, angels and demon, angels and devil trombones. And
we'll go play some music in my room.
You are invited.
I love when they get... Yeah, he takes them back home. They get up in the room. And I love the scene where they go... real fast.
The William Tell overture, if you know that.
Yeah, time-lapse, just really quickly.
Very fast forward. And, basically...
Most of it I'm not going to be able to show because there's a lot...
Show the whole scene!
But it's blurry and everything else.
And it's a big orgy.
Yeah.
During the whole William Tell overture.
And I love... Ted, how he's done with one. She gets up. She gets dressed.
Hey!
He's still making love to her on the other
girl.
Making
love.
Whatever. Having sex with her. And he goes over and gets her and undresses her again.
Yep.
And brings her back to the bed. And they basically go back and forth. Him undressing both of them. They all three get back into the bed. It's just a crazy.
Remember when we used to have that kind of stamina?
Oh. Anyways, but what a scene, man.
But the book, he drugs them, and they're 10.
Wow.
So, again, just to illustrate how despicable the character is who's narrating the story to you.
Exactly.
And that's, and part of the reason Anthony Burgess wrote this because his wife suffered through a very nasty, I don't know if it was a home invasion, rape, or whatever.
Okay.
But this book, which he didn't care for, he wanted to disown the book by the end of his career. But I think that was him working through his demons.
Right, yeah.
For that particular book. And then it turned into this movie that became so controversial because of the violence. Like, say, for instance, when it was released in England, it was... and if we have any, listeners in England, they'll tell you it was video nasty for almost 30 years.
Wow.
And...
their
violence kind of outbroke here and there in England. And it's not so much that the people who did the violence blamed the movie, but the public did, the prosecutors, the media tried to blame the movie. And people were, Stanley Kubrick lived in England,
which they
out in the country.
Do.
And people were protesting, banging on his door, and he got afraid, his family got afraid, and he convinced Warner Brothers to pull the film from England. And up until he died in 1999, that film was not allowed to be shown in England. Wow. Not be available in England legally.
Right.
Plenty of people got it as, fifth generation bootleg videotapes and stuff like that. But up until past 1999, you could not legally get that film in England.
Wow.
And he kept
Says
his
a
word
lot.
with that, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't to build up interest so that, a year later he could release it again and get everybody to go.
Yeah.
It was gone. That was it.
Wow.
And that's how Kubrick was. If this is what you guys want, fine. It's gone. Forget it. I don't care. The rest of the world got to see it.
Yeah. But anyways, what's the droogs are waiting down in the
waiting
downstairs
for
with
him. And he's a little surprised when he sees him.
Yeah, because this is the dissension going on with them.
What do I owe this visit? And they say, and this time it's Georgie.
Yeah, he's asserting himself.
Right, saying, we were at the Korova Milk Bar and you hadn't shown up, and we come around to pick you up.
And he's basically saying, what for?
Alex, like epipolylogis, had somewhat of a pain in the gulliver, so I had to sleep.
Epipologies.
Epipolylogis.
You gotta love the, oh my god, it's great.
And, I was not awakened when I gave orders for awakening. So, and Dims, who's sitting there on the floor,
in a baby
he's like,
carriage.
exactly.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, your head hurts. It's like, why does it hurt? Maybe from giving too many orders and such. Yeah. Are you sure it's gone? You sure you wouldn't be, happier back in bed? Mm-hmm. That sets him off right there.
Oh, yeah.
He's calm on the outside, but on the inside, he's just...
He's under control. He's a leader. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, he's not a good one, but...
it's cool how he just comes up and sits right on his lap and says, let's get something nice
first
and
he puts
clear.
His jock thing right there, up in his face, and
he says,
"Big old Dim is just the big old pit bull, but he's
exactly a good way to describe him.
He's sitting there being all, okay, yeah, because they're still saying, he's the leader,
Well, because Dim's the one that spoke up here first, and he says, the sarcasm, if I'm going to call it such, doesn't become you.
Yes.
And this is where Georgie asserts himself and saying, well, if you want it, then here it is. This is part of the new way.
Yeah.
And, he's like, what new way?
Does he tell
There's been some large talk behind my back.
Yes.
and
he says he's got plans.
He says no more picking on Dim. We want to do... What does he say? We go every night and we just do piddly stuff here and there.
Yeah.
We want the big stuff. The ice, the
And Alex
jewels.
asks him, like, you got something in mind, I think, doesn't he? And
they say you sometimes think like a little child. And he's telling me, what do you need? You need a motor car. He says, if you need a motor car, you pluck it from the trees. If you need Pretty Polly, which is slang for money, you take it. I mean, what are you going to do with the big, big money?
Exactly.
And
this is where they end up walking away.
Walking
Classic
along the
scene.
pier.
Where
now he realizes,
Yes, you see Alex there. He's in front holding that stick.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all walking like, nothing's up. They gave him the old...
Right. Well, he's thinking, so it's going to be Georgie the general.
We told you how it is, yeah.
And see, he realizes now, Dim's the pit bull. He's going to be the muscle, and it's Georgie who wants to call the shots now.
Yep.
And as they're
walking, he ain't going to have nothing to do with that.
Slow motion shot of them walking by the marina. And he says... he hears, windows open. He hears, some music coming from a stereo.
Yes.
And it just inspires him to what to do next.
Whack the guy right in the penis.
Right in and kicks him into the water.
It doesn't even look like that. I mean, maybe because it's slow-mo, but, it's...
Not that big of a kick.
The fight scenes aren't that great, except for when the two gangs met up at the beginning. But the rest of the, beating it, they hardly... But anyways, yeah.
Pete stays out of it. But Dim comes at him with the chain, and Alex knocks him in the water too, and then they show behind him he's got his cane, and he pulls out the handle, and it's a nice sharp knife.
Yes.
And he's got it behind his back, and he's reaching for Dim. Come on, I'll help you up, and just slices his hand open, and reasserts himself as leader.
Yeah.
Through violence.
Yes. Even though it comes to bite him in the
they're not done with him yet.
But it's a long movie. Which is great because it doesn't seem like a long movie when you watch it, that's for sure. But and Dim falls back into the water, and next thing you know, they're at
the Duke of New York, another pub.
Okay, is that what it is?
It's called the Duke of New York.
Yeah, go to TED for all these.
Yep. Evidently, they serve children alcohol there, so they don't card.
They're able to get in there too.
They're having a little brandy and.
Get for some brandy.
Malcolm McDowell, he's narrating, so...
Get for some brandy.
He says something like, a good leader's got to know when he's thinking of them as sheep. And he's like, but, a good leader has to know when to give a little.
Yeah.
So he's going to ask Georgie, what was this, idea you had for the big money?
What kind of plans did you have?
Yeah, tell me more, Georgie boy. Tell me more. And at first he doesn't want to
Meanwhile,
do it.
I was looking at them all like,
Right, because, he's like, so everything's all forgotten, back to normal. And they're all like, right.
Right,
And
Joe.
at first, Georgie doesn't want to tell him about the idea, but he coaxes him into it. And what is it? It's a health farm.
Yeah, he goes, there's this place out where, wherever.
In the country.
Yeah. It's
just some old lady and her cats and
it's evidently some lady who's she's
look
wealthy
much of
from
a health farm, but
there's 1 million cats in the place.
Right.
Every room has about 20 cats just laying around. It's very odd looking and very
there's a
strange,
lot of
but
mildly pornographic pictures all over the walls.
Yeah, for a health farm. She's in her green and she's so
skinny and got such a raspy cigarette smoker voice.
Yeah, looks unhealthy,
Yeah,
in a way.
She does. She's real rail thin and
yes, somebody who's so.
But they say
the
house is supposed to be loaded with money and jewels and stuff.
She's all alone this time of the year.
Right, because it's shut down. Yeah, it's closed for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
And the paintings and art on the wall, it's all. I don't know why it throws me as that. What am I trying to get at? Don't worry about it.
I don't know, but they are mildly pornographic.
Yeah.
It's usually just a bunch of women in provocative poses and things, and she's got a big sculpture of a penis on the table, which will later come into play.
Yes,
but,
and they do get there, and they do the old home invasion.
Right, they try that same trick again.
Yes,
and she does not let them in.
No, she's very hesitant.
She immediately calls the police because she heard the story about the writer and his wife last night.
She's got an ultraviolet red wig on. Ultraviolence red wig on. But anyways,
she calls the cops and
look at that. Oh, that's so disturbing in itself.
And Alex is so polite. Oh, all right, I'll try the pub then. Sorry to bother you. I can't blame you with so many rogues and scoundrels of the night about.
Yes.
He's all polite.
Yeah, they're like, okay, if she's not going to let us in, we're going to get in somehow.
Right.
So
they travel around the house, find an open window way up high, and
but she's listening, and she's like, and she goes back and makes it to the phone and calls the police.
And she says,
this is kind of where the movie takes a change.
Right.
So,
she mentions that, it's not so much, that someone knocked at the door. It's the words. The phrasing that he was used sounds just like what they reported last night.
Yeah, whoever's...
And British people are just so polite. Like they're... the cop, says he's going to send a patrol grab. Well, if you think it's necessary, I don't want to bother you.
Yes, she says...
if that was... you get somebody here now.
Yes.
But as we know...
don't worry about it. If something happens to me...
I'm telling you from experience. Here's what you do. You call the cops. Someone's messing around your house and they don't come. Just call the cops and say, there was a guy on my property messing around. I just shot him. Every cop in the city will be there.
Yeah.
All right? Just tell them that you shot him and they'll get there.
Or say you shot.
No, just say
somebody.
Say you shot him. I shot him dead right there. I need a cop.
Anyways,
they'll come there and arrest the guy.
They see a window open on the second floor. Whatever.
Right.
And look at that penis sculpture, and it wobbles, but you'll see that, I guess.
It wobbles like mine.
It makes its curve up, and it. Anyways,
it's erect.
Yeah. So he this is where she ends up calling the police and all that, and you gotta love all the cats in there. It's just very odd, man. I swear. It's just,
cat lady.
She's a cat lady, but the health. If it's a health place, people allergic to cats, all this.
No, it's not very healthy at all. There's got to be cat crap everywhere.
Everybody walks out of there.
Everybody's got cat scratch fever.
Scurvy.
Yeah.
What else can you get from cats?
Fleas.
Yeah.
But pretty much...
Lyme disease.
As soon as she hangs up the phone, the door to the room that she's in opens up and it's Alex.
Everything's color coordinated too.
Oh, very.
Like,
Kubrick had to do that, man.
Like when the guy was on the bed, he had the green turtleneck shirt or whatever shirt, and the curtains in the back were green.
Balanced. It's called balance.
She's standing here in her green leotard.
Like
ceiling's green.
Even in this scene, if you look, like the ceiling is painted green.
Yeah.
The carpet on the floor is red, and she's green. She's wearing like a green leotard, so it's sort of a little bit of a balance there. But also, red and green are a little bit harder on the eyes, And I think it plays into this whole scene, being disturbing and everything.
Yeah, because everything else is almost white, so bright.
That's why Wes Craven chose red and green for Freddy's sweater, because they're the two hardest colors on the eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, you might look at it and not feel anything, but it's harder for your eyes to process those colors.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I don't know if
I stare at that a lot. The one room we got is...
We should make this the Freddy room, man. We should just, paint it red and green stripes all over.
I've got a room like that over there where when I just sit in there until I get so violent, and I go hit the bag for an hour.
Yep. Hit the bag.
But anyways.
Hit the bag. So Alex, he's gotten in the house, and he comes right in the room, and he's like, yo, well, at last we meet. And I love when she's standing up to him,
Yeah, no.
What the hell do you want? And I love when he sees the statue of the penis right next to him, and he looks at it, he's like, oh, naughty.
And she's going, don't touch it, it's priceless.
It's a valuable work of art. And when he pushes it down, it kind of it makes little thrusting movements.
Like those sand in the bottom of those balance things.
Yes.
But when it's floating up, you can see the price tags underneath there.
Oh, yeah. Forgot at Home Depot?
Yep. Pier 1 Imports.
And the shot, where you could just see a little bit of Alex's arm here. You see the health farm lady over there, but you see that penis just moving like this.
Yes.
Going up and up. And, he gives her a little line, I'm taking part in an international competition to see who can get the most points for selling magazines. And
smart ass.
Right. I mean, we know what he's there for, and she
comes at a Beethoven, I think, statue.
Exactly.
Goes after him, and he picks up the penis.
And he's
teasing her with it.
Now in the book, it was actually the bust of Beethoven that he used to tall chalk her with. But tall chalking her reasonless. But
this is where it all goes bad.
Yeah, she cracks him on the head. He loses his cool for a minute. And whereas he was just being kind of playful before with the big penis sculpture, but he takes it, and they don't show it graphically, but he brings it down and cracks her on the head real good with it.
That's the thing with this movie. It's so violent, and it was rated X when it was it's you don't see the actual the knife or the bloodiness of her head was just.
I mean, by today's standards, the violence is the violence individually is not so bad, but I guess you just have to take into consideration the whole, the pieces that create the whole of the film and how disturbing this was. And this was the beginning.
Cone call.
Oh yes.
The droogs.
When he hears police sirens, he's going to come out of the house, and the droogs are waiting for him. And he's like, what are you waiting for? Let's go. And Dim has got a bottle of milk. Evidently there's still milkmen around, and. Takes it, cracks him across the head with it, and
he's going, oh man, what you doing?
I'm blind! So they get away. Alex is arrested by the police.
Yes.
And the film is... I remember in high school, my buddies...
Yeah.
I brought this movie over one time. Maybe we were going to Cedar Point the next day or something. I brought this movie over to watch. Mm-hmm. And they all liked it up till this part before he went to prison.
Really?
And then after that, everybody lost interest and was doing other things. Nobody cared for it after that.
Because they couldn't get into the story.
I don't know, man. It was a
But even from here on out, I mean, it's so. I mean, there's a point to it all. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very complex and.
What people know.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean.
But what was I saying? Oh, but the beginning of the 1970s, this kind of ushered in sort of these more extreme movies. You had this. Shortly after this, this came out in 1971.
Yeah.
By Christmas, you had The Exorcist, which, again, was very shocking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Then you got, you had Straw Dogs with Dustin Hoffman, which was a very violent film. So that ushered in some of that. Even when you had films like French Connection, Dirty Harry, I mean, the subject matter was, a little bit more intense.
Yeah, Barney Miller came out close to this time.
Barney Miller.
It's,
Fish.
Yeah.
God bless Fish.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
So, I mean, there's that. You just have to appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
if it wasn't for films like this,
mm-hmm.
you wouldn't have
whatever
crazy ass films that you have today that where horror and some films have gone. Mm-hmm. The extreme films. Yeah.
Do you love how they're interrogating Alex in the room, but the cop that's sitting outside mm-hmm. on the outside, where he lets the whoever's sits there and lets people in and out. He's got tea and biscuits all ready for the police officers and detectives. He's going. I think he even tells them, "You ready for the tea?" And they go, "No, not yet."
They're interrogating Alex, and Alex is telling them, "I'm not going to say a damn word till I have a lawyer." Mm-hmm. And they're just doing what cops do. They're screwing with him a little bit.
Yes.
And Alex is being a little bit of a smartass when the one tough-looking cop, kind of touches his nose a little bit where there's a cut, and Alex, belches in his face, and the cop gives him a hit, and gets him down, and Alex. If you gotta watch his face, he grabs the cop by the yarbles, and he's pulling it, and he gets such a smirk on his face when he's doing it, like he loves it. And they give him a couple hits across, give him 5 across the chops, and a little bit of blood. But Mr. Deltoid, the perverted post-corrective advisor, comes in.
His green tie,
and he comes in to tell Alex that
I've lost you.
You're now a murderer.
Yes.
And Alex doesn't believe it at first. He's like. Right. It's just a small, tall chuck. She was still breathing. I'll swear it, brother, sir. And he's like, I've just come back from the hospital. She died. You're a murderer. And
he don't get it. He doesn't understand that he done something so wrong.
Right.
He just doesn't get it.
When the cop says so, he must be a real disappointment to you. If you want to, give him a chop, we'll hold him down for you. And he just spits up. And this is for real.
Yeah,
spits a big lube in Malcolm McDowell's face.
He wipes it off.
And and even the smirk again, he wipes it off him.
Yeah, he don't really think it's a big deal. I think nothing really sets in until they book him, and and even then he's kind of that, cold, rock solid face. I mean,
right, and he hasn't changed as a person being in prison.
No.
And he is transferred to. The Staja, the
Allegheny State Prison.
Allegheny State Prison. He's in Mansfield Corrective Institution.
Yeah.
But, he is sentenced to 14 years in prison.
Is it 14 or 40?
14.
Is it? Okay.
14 years.
I thought I couldn't make out. For murder. 14 years for murder, huh?
Well,
the future looks bright, people.
Yeah, I mean it's not first degree murder. He didn't intend to kill her, but
and if he's underage, why is he in here with all these adults? But
he was tried as because of his age, he's a little bit older.
15.
In the film.
Okay, yeah.
In the book, they never say he's 15.
Okay.
In the book he was, but in the film they never do say that.
Okay.
And the Mr. Deltoid even says, next time you get in trouble, it's prison. It's not the juvenile center, so it's probably because of his age. And still, there's plenty of instances where juveniles are tried as adults and things.
Right.
Love
when they bring him into the.
Oh God, the guy that plays the captain there.
Oh,
he is great.
Stomps his feet
by the book, and
he's like a
655 321.
He's another one of those characters where he's like a German dictator or something like that. He stomps his feet.
He would have fit in.
Yeah.
And
he's behind the line.
He's brought in. He has to empty his pocket. He's being convicted. He's being booked.
Yeah.
And he's emptying his pockets and being told how to do things properly. Keep your feet behind the line.
And this is how
pick things up and put it down properly.
And this is how it is. I mean,
Yeah.
They're the authority of when you get in prison.
And I gotta tell you, once they get into the interior of this prison, it ain't that bad looking. The cells don't look that bad compared to, say, American prisons.
You lose a little bit of the art. Because from the outside to the prison.
I'm just saying, compared to what you picture prisons in this country looking like.
Right.
I mean, absolutely no rehabilitation goes on.
Well, look at all the boxes of the people's
belongings.
They're all just in boxes, and they put it up on the shelf. And it's kind of odd.
And they have them get undressed, and the captain's asking him all, going through all the questions, and I love when he has to make him bend over. And he's got the light in his mouth. He's checking his ass, and then
well, what does he do? He tells him to empty all his pockets and stuff like that.
Right.
And he doesn't he throw down a candy bar?
He's got to stand back a little bit.
Yeah, he says do it from behind it, so he's got to reach.
Right. So he kind of picks it and tosses his candy bar up on the desk, and that's where he tells him, pick that up and put it down properly.
Properly, yes.
It's the discipline. They're not going to put up. He doesn't know.
I like how he gives them everything. And the candy bar and the cigarettes, he doesn't put in the thing, and at the end he goes, "You will not be getting this back." And throws it in.
It'll be it's no good.
Yeah, 14 years.
14 years, you don't want them cigarettes after 14 years. They might be a little stale.
Or the candy bar. I mean,
it might be all right.
You think the sugar would break down? But
Oh, and even, again, when they bring him in and they ask him what crime he convicted of, and he says, murder, sir.
Murder, sir.
And again, he still has that, excuse me, smirk on his face.
Murder check, curtain call, this. What the heck? Drink up.
I was enjoying that.
I should have had some, something to... I gotta start bringing a drink down here.
That's right.
Especially when this movie's getting as long as it is.
I knew we had a long one. I had to bring a liter.
Yeah. Intermission time.
Yep, you guys wait. We're going.
No, let's...
Like a commercial break. You know, like when people are still talking when they... We're not doing
intermission there. I'm going to put intermission up on that. It's going to be kind of funny. I just have to remember it's during this part. I'll remember.
Alright.
I'm going to put a big intermission.
It's going to be like 15 minutes.
And it is, kind of. No, not 15 minutes. Okay, and we're back!
Great.
Hopefully you guys went and got yourself something to drink or
man.
went to the little pee urinal there.
I snapped into a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah!
We just fought, too, and I cold cocked him over the head.
He gave me a tall chuck. This Mal chick gave me a tall chuck.
Should have brought ketchup down here and just put it all over.
I know. Oh, God.
Anyways, yeah, what's going on? Let's see. He's still getting undressed.
He's being processed in.
Yeah.
And, he is now known by the number 655321. No one will
memorize that. He says.
No one will call him Alexander DeLarge anymore while he's in prison here.
Yeah.
Actually, his name wasn't DeLarge in the book. They never told you his last name. He just called himself Alexander the Large. So
really, okay.
His little name.
Yeah,
for himself.
DeLarge is kind of.
So they changed it to DeLarge.
Stanley Kubrick. Why did he make his name DeLarge? I don't know. I don't like that.
Well,
I think a lot less of him now.
I don't know.
I'm joking.
I thought it was brilliant.
Anyways, yeah, he gets down totally nude to
man's
skivvies.
bowel movements were brilliant.
Yeah, if you read his autobiography, man, the guy's a very interesting character himself, man. I mean,
he was. We're not even going to talk about the moon landing stuff, so there's that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know if I believe all that.
No,
there's some interesting things about it, but I don't know if I believe that.
Well, there's things
that's a lot of speculation.
There's lots of things that they. Well, we won't talk about it,
right?
But, I mean,
there's supposedly some. There's supposedly some, conspiracy theory that...
even if NASA did...
I'm definitely one that doesn't believe that footage was probably real. We were probably shown fake footage.
They probably did a set, even though they went to the moon, there was a set where it was propped up like it was real video and stuff, in case things went wrong, just to make things perfect and right.
I certainly think...
Because this was going out to the entire world.
Right. I certainly think what people were shown probably wasn't real. Yeah. Not saying we didn't go. Matter of fact, I bet we did go. Maybe more than once. And we're probably told to leave.
But who knows? Yeah. But anyways...
they're in church.
You like how he's getting the police officer is. He's the one prisoner down there is blowing Malcolm McDowell. Alex kisses.
They're at church, and the preacher is giving a sermon. He's on fire.
Yes.
And Alex has become sort of the helper, his helper.
Yes.
For the priest, the chaplain of the prison.
Yeah, he's trying to be proper.
He's doing what he can.
Yeah, I guess.
To maybe.
Because they don't say much of what, if anything, happened. Because he's been in there for 2 years now.
Right. He mentions he's been there for 2 years.
So they don't really mention what happened, did they? I know he said he's stuck in here with these perverts and men, but he never
Stupniks and perverts.
Yeah, but he never
all over you.
He never said that anything happened to him. But
in the book, what's going on in the movie is he's
Heil Hitler.
He's up on the podium there by the priest, and they have like a little overhead projector that has the hymn on it that they're singing. He's turning it, and right in the front, one of the prisoners is just because Alex is so young, it's just constantly.
Ted, I want to just watching the movie. I want to go down there and just pop the guy in the lip
the captain,
a few times.
that loudmouth captain from the beginning. He's just sitting there and standing there, just watching it.
Yeah, weird look to it. He's like going.
Like, he doesn't try to stop that.
No, I mean...
In the book, Alex actually kills a guy who... in prison.
Is that a Nazi...
No.
Cross?
No, it's a cross.
Oh. Look at that. I want to pop that.
Yeah, that
guy in the lip, man. Oh, that's so disturbing.
Yeah, we'll put that on there for you.
Oh.
And he kills a guy that tries to, who has been sexually harassing him. So,
okay.
But I don't think it's found that he's the one who did it. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's skipped over in the film.
Yeah.
In the film, he's in the library reading the Bible.
Yes.
And this is what you were talking about.
Yeah, where you get the whole impression that he's like converted and he's seeing the good and stuff. But he starts talking and then they start showing the image of Jesus Christ, the walk, Calvary walk, whatever, return to Calvary, with the crucifix, the wood on his beam on it, and he's being whipped, and
he's the soldier.
Alex is doing the beating. He's the Roman soldier whipping Jesus Christ on the back, and he's talking, saying how much enjoyment he is getting out of all of this.
He dreamed about taking part in the torture and the nailing in. And,
yes.
And he even says, I don't really care for the later part of the book that's all preachy talky.
Yes.
He likes, the fighting and the in and out and the tall chalking and getting to bed with the wives' handmaidens, which there's a nice scene there of them feeding him grapes and
him looking over with the teats.
Yeah, they have little TNA in that
feed
scene.
Feed me.
But,
right here.
Those are the visions that he's getting from reading the Holy Bible.
And he's sitting at the table, and he just closes his eyes and he's looking up with just like an angel,
Right.
And here he looks like an angel, but he's the devil, thinking of all these thoughts, and he's getting these grapes.
Yeah, the priest comes over by him, the chaplain, and it's kind of reading over his shoulder a little bit, and they're trading verses for a moment. But Alex, being the sociopath he is, knows how to walk the walk, talk the talk, knows exactly what to say.
Yes.
And knows how to fool people. Just like all our serial killers and stuff like that, everyone always says he was the nicest guy, never would have guessed, because they know.
He turns that good into
And
he
evidently
some bad into good.
Right.
That's what I mean to say. Yeah.
He asks if he could have a word in private, and the chaplain automatically thinks he's going to kind of like confess some kind of homosexual type desire going on. And he's like, it's nothing like that. It's this new treatment that everyone's talking about, and he's talking about the Ludovico treatment. The how did you describe it?
Experiment aversion therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alex doesn't know what it is at all. He's just heard a little rumor about it that the government is starting this new treatment that will get you out of prison quick and you never come back.
In a fortnight.
Right, that's what he'll find out in a fortnight. 2 weeks if you don't know what a fortnight is.
Very quickly, yeah.
And
although that seemed like eternity going through what he went through.
He says, how about putting me in for this new treatment? And at first the chaplain's really taken aback. How did you even find out about this?
Yeah,
this is really new.
Who did you hear that from?
But, just word gets around, he says.
He said, who did you hear that from? What is wrong there?
In
his accent.
That's right.
And Alex
the chaplain really doesn't
Nazi, like bandana around
That's the chaplain thing, that he's in the religious group.
You're just sticking up for Kubrick.
I will stick up for this without my dying breath. There's absolutely nothing wrong in this film.
I know.
Anybody who thinks I'm not hating on this one. You play any Kubrick movie, I'm not going to hate on anything.
No.
This is art. This is perfection. Stanley Kubrick was an artist. Everything has a reason. Everything. I can imagine him in this scene that we're looking at right now. These books on there, he probably had to have them in a certain order.
He probably knew there was a book
I want
in there.
This one there, that one there. I want this one there.
Yep.
That's how he was. So when I watch these, I know I'm watching perfection.
Yes.
At least to what that man's perfection was.
Right.
And
it's nice to know that there's a film made and there's something behind everything. It makes you enjoy the art of the
all
movie
his films,
much more.
It's just nothing is in a Kubrick movie. There's no willy-nilly scene. There's no...
Yeah, Willie Nelson isn't in here at all. He tried out for the...
On the road again.
He tried out for Alex's part.
Just can't wait to get on the
Stanley
road
Kubrick
again.
Said, could you take and get off the hair? Can you cut
What
it
I
off?
love is playing music with my friends.
I wish I knew the words of the song again. I don't know. Oh man, but they're talking for a long time, man. Huh?
Yes, are they still? Yeah, they're still talking. We were joking around. They're still talking.
Yeah, it's a very in-depth conversation.
Well, the chaplain is trying to tell him, based on what I know about this treatment, it hasn't been used in this prison. It's been used elsewhere. But the question is really, does it make you good? And Alex is right. All I want is my life to be one act of goodness. And he's even saying to the chaplain before, I've tried, haven't I? I've never been guilty of any infractions. I've done well, haven't I? And that's why he's trying to get in good so that maybe he can get
out
volunteered for this treatment.
Yeah.
Just so that he can get out there. He has no idea what the treatment entails, what it does.
Yeah, he doesn't think it's actually going to make him good.
Right, and it doesn't make him good.
No, which we find out.
And that's really what the chaplain says to him. The question really comes down to, does this really make a person good? You can't make a person good. Goodness comes from within.
Right.
And, he's like, just be patient.
The crux of the movie.
Be patient, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
He's looking out for him. They say a little prayer, and then it turns out that the minister of the government, there's a newly elected government.
Don't they pull in the Coke machine at this point when they're done talking?
Coke machine? Oh, yeah, they have a Coke. Or I think Alex.
You're belching like he does.
I don't know.
One of the big things.
That's because I had Skyline chili before I came over here, so I have heartburn too.
Ted had about 6 hot dogs, all with Skyline chili on it.
I had no hot dogs. I had the spaghetti.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, the spaghetti and the chili.
You guys got Skyline chili by you? Or is that just an Ohio thing? I don't know.
I don't know. It's probably more.
I don't know. It might only be an Ohio thing. I'm not sure. Okay. But they make this spaghetti, and they put this lovely, lovely chili on top and shredded cheese. And then they drizzle hot sauce on top of it. Oh,
it's a big plate, too.
Yeah, you can get smaller, but I got the big one because I hadn't really eaten much today. And that's my whole dinner.
Yeah, Ted's small as a large.
Right. That's what I tell him. I go, give me a large, but put it on a small plate.
Put it in a cup, I'll suck it all up with a big straw. No.
And what's going on in Clockwork Orange now is that a new government has been elected, a more conservative, right-wing government. And
trying to make the crime go away.
Right,
by all means
elected
necessary.
On the promise that we will stop crime, we will cut down crime.
Yes,
and they have a plan in order.
Like cutting down a tree, he says.
Exactly.
He says, "I will cut it down like cutting down a redwood."
I don't remember that line.
It was in the book.
Oh, the book.
I didn't read that book though. One day I'll read it.
Maybe you should.
No, I will.
It doesn't hurt to read books.
I'll download it.
It won't hurt you. What, are you going to steal it? You're going to Well, Anthony Burgess is
I'm going to pay for it on Barnes & Nobles, Ted.
Oh, God. Even I don't do that. Not kidding. But the minister, who works for the government, is coming to visit the prison, and
yes, he is.
With the presumption that they're looking for a candidate.
Yeah, they presume to look.
And he comes out to check this particular group of inmates, and Alex is one of them. And
the guy tells him,
get
in a line.
He's right in front, and you could just tell by looking at him, even though he's standing perfectly still, he's very anxious.
His mind's thinking. I've
got to stand out. I've got to do something.
I think he knows what's going on here. And
I've got to do something to stand out.
And he left the stove on in his cell. And he's pissed. He's like...
And I think that's the pervert standing behind him, isn't it? He's not blowing any kisses or anything, but I don't know
if
that's him
it?
or not. I think it's him.
Okay.
I don't know. He's got a little bit of a scowl. But the minister's walking by with the warden and the captain saying, what do? You cram all these people in cells together? You just make better criminals.
Exactly.
And that is absolutely true even this day. And
Amen.
They're saying that as they walk past Alex.
Yes.
And he just jumps up and is like, "You're absolutely right, sir!" And they're like, "Shut your hole!" And that gets his attention.
Yes.
And he comes over.
The governor.
What were you convicted of? The accidental murder of a person, sir. And
the accidental.
He stresses
I want to walk around like this governor does. I
hands behind your
back. I just want to in my chest out and just walk up and down the stores and just in a nice suit.
Good day.
Good day. How are you doing? A cane.
You could be like the greeter at Walmart. Just a little bit better dressed.
I want to dress up with the handkerchief.
You just walk around and ask people if they need help.
I could do that. Okay.
Could they pay you for that? That'd be great.
Why is he the only one with the red band around his
Because he's the...
Did Malcolm McDowell tell Stanley Kubrick, "I need this"? Is that why?
I think that's what they did in British prisons.
Okay. So he keeps it on at all times.
I'm sure there's a reason for it.
Maybe they say, "Don't touch him. He's associated with the chaplain.
I guess so.
So he's untouchable.
No.
And he comes
not according to that guy.
He comes into the warden's room and he stomps his feet down.
Well, wait. I mean, because, that gets the minister's attention.
Yeah.
He speaks to him.
Right.
And he even says, he's young, he's aggressive, he's dangerous, he's
everything.
perfect.
Yes, he's perfect.
And, his crime, the nature of his crime, of course. I mean, if they could convert a murderer...
Yeah.
I mean...
It would be perfect.
Perfect for the government.
Yes.
And, he doesn't even want to see anybody else. They're like, we could go see the other cell block. Like, nope, he'll be fine.
Right.
And...
he
Alex
stopped
did what he had to do.
Yeah.
So you're right. He goes into the warden's room, and the warden even tells him, "I'm absolutely against this."
But do you like how the police officer comes in, and he stomps his feet like German style, dictator? And Malcolm McDowell, Alex comes in, and he does the same thing.
Yes,
like sarcastically.
Exactly.
Exactly. He's like, "What are you going to do now?"
He's very sarcastic
because he thinks he's going to get away with all of this,
Right.
Like, okay, I'm in the experiment now. I'll be out of prison in a fortnight.
Out of here in 2 weeks. And even the warden even tells him, I'm completely against this. You took a life. Why shouldn't you, have to sit here and you get out? And
the thing in the home movie where, he does. Thank God he don't throw up. I guess you could. That's probably why he can't. I think they probably sat around and talked about this. They had to, because. You can't have him throwing up nonstop to the movie. So he
dehydrated. His potassium would be low, and then
but he
cardiac arrest.
But he comes up with that belch, that's sickening. It's almost just as bad.
Right, and that's just like the book. It's just imagine the worst nausea that you can imagine.
Yeah, and you're not
you
going
just
to
want to curl
up
and die. Yeah, nothing will come up because there's nothing to come up.
Right.
It's what they're going to do to him is basically what Pavlov did to the dogs. It's operant conditioning.
Yeah.
And the thing that you have to understand is, regardless of how the movie ends, scientifically speaking, and Kubrick knows every detail when he does a movie. When if you took a dog and you conditioned it, and even if you to salivate when you ring a bell, and let's say you didn't ring that bell again for 2 years. And you ring that bell, it's gonna still do it.
Yeah.
Conditioning is permanent. There's not really, they almost make it seem like in here they're trying to reverse the conditioning, but it can't be done. And that's where I'm going to get into my little interpretation at the end there. So
okay, yeah, I'd be curious what you think
because they do make it seem like they're.
And
I think that's what a lot of people think. Like, I'm sorry, just jumping out a window doesn't cure you of that. And
right. I was wondering about that too.
That takes a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So anyway, he is transferred to the Ludovico treatment center.
Yeah, I like when he's in the warden's office too. There's still the line in front of the desk.
Yes.
And he's reaching over, but as he's reaching and signing the documents, he's got the smirk and the smile and. Yeah, he thinks he's getting away with something, man.
Well, he has no idea what the treatment is.
Yeah.
No idea. And, he is transferred to their care. And I even like when he does the handcuff, he's like, is this the officer that's going to take us? Like, with the cuffs. And, they're treating him they're treating him more like a patient now than a hospital patient, than a prisoner. Mm-hmm. And it's going to start...
Well, the guard's a very big guard, so he goes over, grabs his arm. And
not like
I like when the doctor's signing the paperwork and stuff. He goes, sign here, but it's like they take a little bit of time.
Exactly.
Sign here,
right? And then the tearing of the paper. What movie does that? The tearing of the receipt, and then opening up and putting your copy back in there.
But he signs like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Takes his time, and then rips the paper, and you could tell he's ripping the paper. So. It's not like he's pretending to...
any other movie, delete. We're not even going to shoot that.
Yeah, just do this to me.
But this is Kubrick, man. Yeah. It's all there for a reason, and it's just to lend to the realism of the story. And so he is taken to a room, not like a cell, but like a hospital room.
Yeah.
And he meets
it's got a lock on it.
And he meets the assistant of Dr. Ludovico.
Yeah.
Who is going to... wait, I don't know if his name... Dr. Brodsky. Forgive me. Dr. Brodsky's the doctor.
Brodsky.
Who's doing...
So he's a wide Polish man.
Yep.
Brodsky. Okay.
Or he likes Polish women.
Could be.
Yeah. Brodsky.
Okay. Love Alex walking by. And the cop's so scared. Like, he's pissed that he's getting out. Because I think a lot of people are just like any government back and forth politics.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like what's going on.
Right.
You're taking this prisoner out and going to release him after 2 weeks? How dare you?
Well,
I mean, that's what
I don't think they believe that this even works.
Right, exactly.
You know, and then all of them are going to be invited back once the treatment's done.
Mm-hmm.
And the assistant to I can't remember her name.
Juanita. We'll call her Juanita.
Juanita, and she's
serum
she
number
works with Dr.
114.
And she says, he asks, what's the treatment going to be? And she's like, we're just going to show you some films. And he's like, really? You're just going to show me some films? I like to video the old films now and again. He says,
video the old films.
And they're going to give him an injection. The nurse is preparing an injection. They don't tell him what it is. They're like, it's just vitamins.
Yeah, not a hot beef. It's probably
hot
vitamins.
Beef, not a hot beef injection. But yeah, he turns over, right in the butt. That's where I always give my injections at the hospital.
And you like how he unties his little...
Oh, yeah.
He's like, there you go. There's my butt.
I love when I have to give someone an injection and they just immediately roll over. It's like, I can do it in your arm. You want it there, I'll do it.
Do it in me butt. Do it in me butt.
Do it in the butt. What? In the butt? I said what?
In, out. Do the oat in and out. Oh, well.
So I like the video the old films.
Then we get right to...
the theater. And this is an iconic scene. This is
This is it.
You
will never
up
forget.
Clockwork Orange. This is going to be one of the first 3 images you see.
Yes,
when you Google it.
The whole setup. He's in the straitjacket.
Right.
The metal clamps keeping his eyes open.
The electrodes on the head.
And I guess they numbed his eye through the whole filming of this.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So that because to take away some of the discomfort,
he did scratch a cornea,
but yet those metal things did scratch the cornea up a little bit in there. So
this guy right here that you'll see in the film, he is actually a doctor in real life. He was actually a doctor,
and they need it,
acting the drops on the eyes. But I mean, appreciate what the actor had to go through. He actually had to wear that thing. Like this.
With numbed eyes.
And, let's remember how many takes Stanley Kubrick likes to do.
Oh.
Okay?
Wow.
Again, and there's a lot of actors that have worked with Stanley Kubrick that would say, I would never work with him again. There's been more than one that is like Shelley Duvall, I think. What's his name? Stephen Baldwin. Not Stephen Baldwin. Guy from Full Metal Jacket. He was a Baldwin brother. I can't remember his first name.
Alec Baldwin?
No, not Alec.
Billy Baldwin?
Billy. He was also in Firefly. I can't remember.
What the heck? A Baldwin?
Yeah, he's one of the Baldwins.
Okay,
but not one that you typically see though.
Yeah, okay.
And
Daniel Baldwin. That's the only one left.
I don't know. It might be Lucius. Who knows?
But anyways,
I can't remember his name.
But yeah, the scene of him is so. It's just so.
But it's hard working for him. It's hard.
Oh right, yeah.
And I think that the Baldwin even said in Full Metal Jacket, they had him keep doing the scene over and over and over again, and he finally grumbled under his breath, what does he want? And Kubrick heard it, and he's like, better acting.
No way. Yes.
So the types of films that Alex is being shown are some are actual footage, some are Hollywood produced or whatever. He's being shown violent films.
And the first one they show is the guy getting beat up by 4 droogs,
almost dressed like Alex's guys.
Yeah, but he's going off. Alex is going off
he's almost smiling a little.
Yeah,
at
he's
first.
like, this is very well made.
Real horror show, and he even makes the comment how colors are so much more brighter when they're up on a screen.
Yes, everything.
Colors are more real when they're up on a screen. And
then what happens?
The next film is about a woman being raped, gang raped, I should say.
Yeah.
And he even says by the 7th or 8th one, I kind of noticed I'm starting to feel a little sick.
Yes,
and
that's when he starts belching his.
Right. It's he just starts noticing that and he's like, at first I attribute it to all the rich food and vitamins.
Yeah, vitamins.
Right, and they're monitoring that. The doctors are all in the back with their equipment, way far back, and Dr. Brodsky's explaining.
And you got the monitors are going waves.
Oh yeah, the machine that goes bing.
It's like, and the other one's got numbers rolling it's like, okay, those are for nothing.
No,
but anyways,
those are there for a purpose and a reason.
Right. Of course.
But the doctor's explaining, as the treatment progresses, the sickness is going to get more, and he's going to start associating the violence with the ill feeling.
Yes.
And you're going to want to avoid that feeling. So the next day, Alex is sitting in bed, not feeling all that great.
No.
And he's explaining to the lady, I don't understand why I should feel sick. He's like, I used to whether watching it or doing it, I felt real horror show.
Yes.
And she says, normal, and what she tells him is normal people feel this way when they experience violence.
Yes.
She's like, you're becoming well. You're starting to feel the way that we all feel. Normal people feel when exposed to violence.
Yes.
And it's like, you're learning it. Your body's learning it. And that's really what they're doing. They're not changing his mind in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. They're changing his body.
Yes.
And the way his body reacts.
Yes.
And she tells him, tomorrow you're going to have to sit through 2 sessions. And he's not happy
morning
about that.
and an evening session.
Yeah, he's like, I'll have to viddy 2 sessions.
But he's got to go through it.
And this is the worst one for him because he's watching a film of Nazi atrocities.
Yes.
Nazi Germany. And the soundtrack in the back is Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
And he takes this so badly.
Oh, remember he starts
he doesn't
screaming.
care about the murder because he loves it so
and he's
much.
Yelling, it's a sin! It's a sin!
Yes, why and this of all... He's questioning...
The doctors don't understand. They like, what's the matter? And he's like, I shouldn't have to feel sick when I listen to lovely, lovely Ludwig van. And
it's fine if I
They
feel
didn't know
sick.
he loved music.
Right, exactly.
And the doctor even says, well, this is the punishment aspect of it. He's... In the book, it was all music. Any kind of music would do that to him. It didn't have to be Beethoven. It's just music would do that to him.
Huh.
I think it's better in the film for it just to be that piece of music because it was like his favorite piece of music.
Yes, that was a very cool.
And he even makes a point later on to say it's not all music. It's just the Ninth Symphony. He tells the people that he shouldn't tell.
Yeah,
that's what
but
he didn't know that at the time.
Yes,
but I mean, just what a scene! I mean, when he's there, his glazzies are all wide open.
Glazzies.
That's what he calls them. His glazzies. And the doctor's constantly putting the drops in there, and I mean, when they show the close up of the eye and the wiring holding him open,
and that last scene when he's screaming, I mean, that's probably the scene in the movie. I mean, and this is the end where because right after this we're going to he's going to be released. But.
And he even tries to tell him, like before she's like, I'm cured, I see it now, and they're like, what do you see? How it's wrong to just go around chucking people reasonless, and it's like everyone has a right to live and be happy and free, and he's like, God be praised, I'm cured, I'm cured. And it's because of the music. He's only doing it because
he loves that music so much, and he knows he's going to get
And they're like, no, we still have a while to go yet.
You let us do our part, what we're going to do. So,
and again, that's where he says, this is, maybe there's some, this is the punishment part.
And the doctors really still they got scanners and stuff.
It's important. They have to see his brainwave activity there, and his, and the numbers are ticking. Something important there, I'm sure.
Maybe his brain fluctuation numbers.
Yeah, it could be. And like I said, there's the machine that goes bing, and it's the most important piece of machinery in the hospital.
How come nobody's turned around? Nobody's at least looking at it. Like, what if the waves started going really bad on the green thing? There's not a doctor going like this.
Well, it comes out as a printout.
He should go. No, there's a doctor that should go. Hold on,
they're all watching the movies too.
You know what? I thought the same thing.
They're all watching the movie too. I mean, who wants to sit there and watch a bunch of violent films? But
I know. I kind of. That's weird. Thinking about it
there
now.
There we go, guys. I don't know. The degradation of society.
Yeah. Hey, do they all get together when they're in a room like the lounge and they're going, "Oh, you ready to go see the film again?
Oh, yeah, let's watch that chick get gang raped."
Yeah. Hey, Mary, what's your
lunch? Mary, right.
I mean. It's weird, but anyways.
You're right. I guess didn't look at it that way before. No one's looking at any of that machinery back there, but there it is. So we come to Alex has finished his treatment, and now they're going to put on the government is putting on a demonstration of the Ludovico technique. To I think there's members of the media there. There's the prison warden, the guard, the chaplain.
Why they're there, but yeah.
Well, maybe the people that, I imagine that guard's kind of high up in the,
Could be.
Maybe the captain of the guards.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who stamps their feet like that, it's got to be high up in ranks.
I guess. And the doctors and the government want to show off this is how we promised when we were elected, that we would cut down on crime, and now we are going to show you.
You like how he's just standing up there like a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, up on a stage like a kindergarten stage,
and
the
lights
on.
Yeah,
got
the lights
his nice
right
blue
on
suit
him.
on,
and the lights on him so that he can't really see the people in the audience.
Right.
Which adds to the if you're looking at the people, what's going to happen and go on, it's more of a performance. But to put that light blinds everything so that he's in the moment,
There you go.
When that violent comes on him, he's not paying attention to who's around. He's just getting sick from what's going, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's still,
Stanley Kubrick thought of all of that stuff,
And yet the funny thing is with Alex here, he still doesn't really realize what the treatment is.
Right.
He watched the films, he felt sick, but he feels fine now. He feels great.
Yes.
And he doesn't really know what's going on. He does not know how they're going to demonstrate the treatment. And
so the governor gets up there and
he says, we promise we're going to cut down crime, and here we go. Yes. The first thing that happens is a young guy comes out that Alex doesn't know. And
do you like how that when they show it? I mean, after each performance that they do this, they take their bow.
Yeah, clapping
it's like, how odd is that? You know what I mean?
But especially the girl, she bows 16 times.
Yeah, thank you very much, thank you very much. I got paid for this.
I guess. But a fella comes out and basically, just to kind of for the sake of brevity, start some shit with him.
Yeah, and this is what future British people are going to look like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they'll have the the 1971's clothes with the fro going.
Clothes didn't change that much. Has the suit really changed all that much? Little bits here and there, but the suit is still the suit.
But the hairdo.
Okay, the hairdo. Well, what are you going to do with the hair? I don't know.
It's outdated. Come on.
I don't think so.
I think Stanley Kubrick should have really looked deep into how would people's hair really look in the future? Would it still look like it would be now?
Yeah, but then see if we watched it now and it didn't look like that, we'd be like, what the hell is this?
No, I'm joking with you. Of course. That's what makes a movie like this stand out. It's the culture of that era, and so
I love every minute of this movie. Every frame of this movie.
I do too.
I just want to make love.
But you love how the actor does come out.
Yeah.
They're standing
smells bad.
Face to face.
Get in his face.
Yeah, it gives him the
smacking him in the
Three
face.
Stooges routine.
Oh yeah, he grabs him by the nose and he shoves him down on the ground and gives him a couple of kicks.
Yeah.
And
in the Golga.
And that's when he starts getting that sickness. He cannot fight back.
He starts going, ugh.
And he'll do anything to make it stop. And the guy even, he even says, "Please, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick." And he's like, "Let me up." And he's like, "You want to get up?" I was like, "You see that shoe? Lick that shoe.
Lick that shoe."
And he's like, and he's narrating. He's like, "And wouldn't you know it? I stuck my tongue out and licked that shoe clean." And we know Alex. There's no way he'd ever do anything like that.
And he does it 2-3 times.
Right. And the guard at first, the captain, he's watching it and he's he's smiling like, "Yeah, go ahead, lick that shoe." It's good to see him get his ass whooped a little bit. But then at the same time, it's like, what the hell did they do to this kid?
Yeah, to make him do that. Yeah. Because I don't think anybody's really knows what they did, just that they're rehabilitating.
Exactly.
And the governor's all happy. Look at him. He's licking that boot.
Well, and then, and then the guy takes his bow, walks away, gets his little applause, and, Alex is starting to feel a little better.
Yeah, let's sit there and let the applause there. He bows down.
Yeah, there.
Bows down. It's like, what is with that? I just don't get it. But
his performance. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then comes a
Yama.
I
tell you what, for 1971 too, that's not bad.
No, those are all natural.
Yeah.
And he's on the ground and he looks up and
I think
he hasn't seen a.
I think he handpicks his women too. I mean, I'm sure he had a lot of women come in and he picked this one specifically.
That's right.
It's just like Nicole Kidman's breasts.
That's right.
Exactly.
He probably did.
The small little. Sorry, guys. Nipples.
Small little.
The perky breasts. I mean, it's all right there, and they look exactly the same. But anyways, she takes and walks right up to him.
Right. And he even says, I look up there, and he's like, all I could think about was getting her down on the ground and having her real savage-like.
Yes, and do the old in-out.
And when he tries to reach up to her, and it's because...
It's going too quick.
Well, when he says, I want to have her real savage, like, see, he's only used to pretty much raping girls.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And
everybody in the audience is just like looking, going, what the?
And that's what he's getting. He's getting violent sexual thoughts. If it was a monogamous relationship where he was actually in love with someone, I don't think he would feel that way. Because it's not violent. But he wants to have violent sex with her.
Yeah.
So that's why he starts to feel sick.
Yes.
I think if he was, actually in love with someone and cared about someone, and I don't think that would do it.
He's reaching up to the knobs.
Right, to change the dial.
And he doesn't quite get there. He's an inch away and...
yeah, he physically can't touch him.
Yeah.
His body will not let him do it.
But that's a very good point. I mean, I don't know.
That's my interpretation.
It doesn't say that in the book or nothing.
Not that I recall.
Okay.
But I mean, it's because he's conditioned against violence.
Because during the movie, I was thinking
sex is not necessarily violence,
right?
But the way that he has done it and interpreted it,
she takes her bow.
Oh yeah, 17 times.
Yeah.
And the way that he views sex is violent. Mm-hmm. It's not for love. It's animalistic.
Yeah.
And my opinion is that if he were to have normal intercourse with someone he cared about, I don't think he would be sick.
Right.
I don't think it works that way.
Good point. Yeah. And that's pretty much the demonstration. Those two
He's sitting on the stage and belching and gross, and the minister gets up and he's like, you see, he'll be your perfect Christian. He'll rather, turn the other cheek. He'd rather be crucified than crucify. Mm-hmm. He would have a hard time killing a fly.
Exactly.
And, he's like, are there any questions? And the chaplain immediately jumps up and says, choice. He has no choice.
Right.
You didn't make him good. You took away his choice. You took away his free will. You took away his ability to be a human being and make decisions for himself, whether they be right or wrong.
Yes, the chaplain did not agree with it.
Well, it's really the core, of the movie. He has become, even though they never use the phrase in the film, they do in the book, he has become a Clockwork Orange, a clockwork man.
Yes, brainwashed.
Or just, he can only do what he's programmed to do now, and he can't be his own person. And, he's got that idea. Now he sees...
I see the point, though. I mean, hey, take away the violent acts. I mean,
Well, that's certainly a question for society. I mean, you look at all the violence, and you even say, look at all the prisons and child molesters and things like that. What if you could take a child molester and physically condition them to not be able to do things like that anymore? Would that be okay?
And hasn't stuff like that gone on? I think even...
I'm sure this book and movie inspired people to try it.
No. I'm talking even back in the 50s. I remember...
Certainly mind control experiments and things like that.
Well, when you're talking about homosexuals and stuff like that, there was a time back in the late 50s, early 60s, when certain doctors would do this. Mm-hmm. They would... the wealthy who would come and they were homosexuals. And they were married, and they had a family, and they'd get caught, and they'd really want to get this all, I don't want to feel like this no more. What can I do? So they would give them a medication just like this that would get them sick when they're performing the act.
Really?
So they would,
Same kind of difference, I suppose.
Yeah. So as they were having sex with same-sex partner or something like that, they would pop that pill right before, and condition themselves to be sick every time they did that.
Right.
So they thought that would be the cure for that. So it has gone on.
It doesn't cure it, but yeah. I mean,
yeah.
But that's the thing. It doesn't, just like him, it didn't cure him.
I mean, it's not out there today, so it probably didn't work.
Right. So that's really the question. Is it? I think in the case of someone who's homosexual, people these days would certainly say no, absolutely not. But
no, and I didn't mean to bring that up.
But no, but say like
that's
the point. Going back to the whole child molester thing. If you could, with all the pornography that's on the internet and everything like that, it seems like people have so much more access to it, and you hear about it so much more now than you did before. Whereas, people who had that proclivity probably had a lot harder of a time getting hold of material. Yeah. Back then, and now I certainly don't know where to get it, but I'm sure they know where to get it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
No, I seen that too.
What
with child molesters, it's the whole pill thing.
Yeah, you would probably have people who think that's okay to do, but is it okay to do it? I'm not here to say one way or the other if it's okay or not. I don't know. And
we got deep, but we'll get back to the movie.
I mean, we're not all. What do you do with Jared from Subway?
Put him in a big old Subway bun and put him in the oven.
What do you do with that guy? I mean, he's in jail, but you don't fix this.
No,
no amount of therapy is going to fix that.
No.
I mean, it gives whole new meaning to their phrase, eat fresh. Ooh. Sorry.
Oh, boy, okay.
Anyway.
So Alex gets out, and he heads first to his mom and pop.
And they didn't even know he was coming home. They weren't invited to the prison. They weren't told he was being released.
But they're all sitting there reading the paper,
They just read it in the paper that day.
Yeah.
That, these scientists have cured him. And he comes walking in. Hello, me P&M, and sees some other guy sitting there.
And it's funny, he can be himself still.
Mm-hmm.
Except for when he's confronted in those situations.
Right.
Because he's being sarcastic even to his dad a couple times. So he can still have his kind of sarcastic attitude.
He can joke around a little. He's like, hey, Dad, keeping fit. And, that doesn't get... Because he's just kidding around.
Right.
But then he gets like, hey, Dad, there's a guy on the sofa eating lump-ticks of toast.
Yes.
And
he's the lodger.
The lodger. Joe the lodger.
Joe the lodger.
And
do you love his nice sweater with the belt?
He looks like...
His sweater and belt?
He looks like something. I mean, I don't know, some kind of like... Space lumberjack.
You know what movie we gotta do?
What?
The Producers.
The Producers? I'm down.
Gene Wilder.
I'll always.
I'm looking
Gene
at this era here and stuff like that. We gotta do.
We're gonna start doing the movies we want to do.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to do it.
Holy Moses!
Come on, I set you up.
we went almost 2 hours and we finally got to it.
I know there's been no Charles Bronson mention. Oh, there it is.
Sure. Yeah. Anyways, he's very pissed off, and they pretty much say...
Yeah, he's not liking this guy at all. He's like, I've heard all about what you've done. It's made me sick.
And his dad is pretty much like, he's paid a month in advance.
Right.
There's nothing I can do, son.
I don't think they want him in the house.
And his mother's just really crying. Because they're probably still in shock. I mean... Murderer released from prison.
Right.
So they're probably not believing that he's better.
Right. Well, Joe the lodger gets in his face a little bit, and Alex just, out of instinct, makes a fist and starts getting sick.
Yeah, belching.
And there's Joe. He's like, oh, God's sake, put your hand over your mouth. It's bloody revolting.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh, it's the treatment. He's like, man, it's disgusting.
And his father is just such... He's very odd looking. He's a very odd.
You remember he was in The Shining as well. He was.
Was he?
He played the ghost of Grady, who was the one who killed his family at the hotel, and he's the one who appears to Jack like in the bathroom.
Was it the
He's the ghost in the bathroom and tells him about
I was thinking behind the bar. No, in the bathroom.
No,
okay.
That he wasn't the bartender.
Okay.
But he was the previous caretaker.
Mm.
But
he's very odd.
He's a cool actor. I like him.
Yeah.
And
but basically,
with his bright orange shirt, orange tie.
Yeah.
Got the and actually throughout the movie that color orange does.
You like the wall back there too? It's like bubble like. I love when back then.
That's neat.
I love
their idea of the future.
Yeah, the modernism of the 70s.
If you watch Barbarella, Queen of the Galaxy, like their idea of the future, they're the spaceships with shag carpet all. Well, I don't know if that was really a true idea of the future. But
right, yeah. And you bring that movie up.
I don't ever want to bring it up again.
Yeah, we'll do that movie next week now.
No, God, no. And the funny thing is, I've watched it all the way through. We're talking Barbarella from like 1968 with Jane Fonda.
I never did get to see it.
I've watched it all the way through once. And then there's been a couple times where I've tried to watch it again. It's so damn stupid. I mean, visually there's some cool stuff, but it's just so damn stupid.
It is. It is.
But it's where Duran Duran got their name from, so...
Yeah, well,
they got their name from that movie.
I guarantee you there's a cult following for that movie.
Oh, absolutely. Every movie does.
Yeah, it could be the worst. But anyways.
Planet of the Vampires probably has a cult following.
That's our worst
Jeepers Creepers probably has
That's our worst show we've ever done.
Man, I was at Walmart.
Still nobody ever get on there and watch
Nobody ever watched that?
No. So I think it's still like 60, maybe 70 views or something.
Wow,
it's like
you ain't missing none.
Nobody's going back there watching that.
Yeah,
And
I remember 20 years ago you told me about that movie, and I finally watched it.
That's one of those films I watch by myself in the dark every.
That's a good thing.
15 years. But yeah, after doing the show and watching it again, I was like going, okay, this one's a little hard to do a show on. It's a little different, but I still think it's a great movie. But anyways,
it just shows how bold we are. We'll do anything.
Yes, we will.
So I mean, Alex even asks, where's all my stuff? And he's like, oh, the police took it all away, compensation for the victim.
Yeah, new thing they're doing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I love the way he talks. Oh, it's a new law, son.
Yes, very silent and still.
He asks about his snake. Oh, he met with like an accident. He passed away. Yes. He flushed him down a toilet. But basically, they tell him, we can't just kick Joe out. Yeah. And,
they all huddle up there together.
Well, yeah, he's like, and Joe, he says...
Barbarella's in the picture on the back of the couch.
Probably. But Joe even says, what right do you have to even come back here and upset your poor mom and dad? And, I've been more like a son to them than you ever were. And, I'll be damned if I'm going to let you come in this house and damned. And make life hell for them again. I've heard everything you did, Why don't you get, And Alex even says, I've suffered, and everyone wants me to go on suffering. He didn't suffer that long.
No.
And Joe, he even gets up, he's like, you've made others suffer. It's only right that you should suffer proper.
And he's right.
Why don't you get out there?
Yeah.
And that's, Alex, he's got his little parcel of everything he owns in the world.
And I think he was getting ready to ponder suicide.
Yes, he was. He's like, all right, I'll make my own way. And he's just wandering the streets.
Until who wanders up. And,
but you're right. He's crossing the bridge, looking at that water, getting that idea.
And he filmed it right where the water's spinning. He drowned there. But anyways.
Yeah. The old wino from the beginning.
He's alive.
Can you spare some cutter, me brother? Cutter, money.
Some cutter.
And Alex is giving him some.
Give me the cutter.
And he looks at the guy. They make eye contact. Real good eye contact, like kind of at the same time. Yeah. And I'm not sure. Let's see.
Did Alex I'm
trying to think
figure
if
it was
Alex
him,
realizes it's him first, or if the guy realizes, or it might be just almost simultaneously.
I think Alex
simultaneous loving, baby. 2 or 3.
The hell
South
was that?
Park.
Oh.
Chef singing about having, me and you and her simultaneous loving, baby.
Chocolate balls. Yeah. Anyway, so.
Yeah, Alex looks at he starts remembering. It's pretty much simultaneous that they recognize each other. And I'm surprised the wino. This does not happen in the book. In the book, he sees him, but I don't believe he is recognized.
Yeah. Well, and even this part, it's so surprising that this wino is able to
remember after being
and pull him into the tunnel with all the other bones.
Well, because he's getting violent with him, and Alex can't do anything to protect himself.
Sick, but shouldn't he run away?
He's
I mean,
I think it's just weak. He's just weak and can't do anything.
Yeah, he does try.
It almost puts him in a state of paralysis.
Right.
Where he can't even move. Once it starts.
Yeah.
And the old man's like, this is the man and his friends. They beat me almost to death. And
yes.
They take his package and
poor package.
Men, women, and Alex even says it. Can you believe it? The old having to go on the young, and they beat the hell out of him. And then a couple of police officers, thank God, come in and break it up.
And you know who the police officers are? Dim and Georgie.
The old droogies. And when Alex lifts his head up,
he goes, oh no.
Yeah, really. And he's like, well. Long time no viddy, droogie.
How did they become police officers?
Well, because the government has decided in their quest against crime to hire thugs, basically, to be cops. Right. Yeah. To be a little bit tougher on the criminals. Basically, criminals policing the criminals. And that's even what they say. What a job. Yeah. We're getting paid to beat people up.
Yep.
In the book, it was Dim and... it wasn't Pete. Georgie, they mentioned that Georgie had been killed. Okay. And this was... oh, crap. It's Dim and Billy Boy. the gang from the beginning that they fought with.
Okay.
It's Dim and Billy Boy.
In the book.
But it makes more sense in the movie for it to be Dim and Georgie. I think that's far more dramatic. And I think he did the right thing in the film, making that little change. Mm-hmm. And
they handcuff him.
Yeah.
Put him in the police car.
They take him out to a place that they know.
Once again, don't you love the vehicles? But the vehicle is like some giant Jeep.
I know. I love English police cars and sirens.
It's ready for the hill and the dirt roads.
2 British movies in 2 weeks. Gotta love it. But yeah, they're taking him out there. Hey, Droogie, and like without even thinking, they're gonna take him out to the woods and F him up.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna talk about the scene coming up here again, just to talk about the quality of acting in this film. Mm-hmm. But and how hard of a director Kubrick is.
Yes.
But Alex is trying to talk his way out of it. He's come on, I mean, we had some good times. Dim, you remember? And Dim's like, you don't call me that anymore. You call me officer, and I don't remember those days too. Horror show. And you think horror show means horror show,
right?
But if you look up about the Nadsat language, it actually is from like a Russian word that means good.
Yeah.
Gora Shah, something like that.
What a great show you put on a horror show.
But that's translated over to horror show. And they take him out to the woods by a trough. They dunk his head in the water. Now watch this scene right here, and just time it. Look how long Malcolm McDowell has his head under the water.
I was saying
and
that,
even though he is moving and shaking, I mean, they're not really whacking him with a real baton, I'm sure.
Right.
But
his head's dunked under.
He is under that water
for a long time.
I mean, you can hold your breath a couple of minutes maybe, but for an actor and all that, this is all one long continuous take.
Yes.
And this is really amazing in my opinion that
it is.
And I don't think I really paid attention to it before, but he's under there a long friggin' time.
Yes.
Any movie today is going to be cut here, a shot of the face underwater, a shot up here, a shot of the head in the water. There's gonna be multiple shots.
Yes.
This is all one long continuous, about a minute and a half or so.
Yeah. Well, shot. What? I heard he was a very good swimmer and was able to hold his breath for a very long time.
He could hold his breath for an hour. They call him the Hour of Power.
No, really?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Something new.
Don't you remember the show that used to be on Sundays, the religious show, the Hour of Power? Don't just sit there. Do something.
Yeah, I remember.
But they beat him up, they uncuff him, and basically just leave him there. Which I'm kind of surprised that they didn't kill him.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised that they didn't beat him to death.
Yeah.
And just leave him out there, because it was certainly in their power to do that. And they let him go.
And I guess the police dragged people out to that because
you could tell they've had people out there before that trough. They knew exactly where that was.
Oh yeah.
And
and where does he show up at? And he even says
he's wandering around.
Who would have known that right on the outskirts I'm
looking for home, and home is what I found.
Yes. And
the house from the writer and his wife that he.
I want to get a home sign for the front of my yard.
Home. And he didn't even realize that that's where he was. He was just staggering around.
Yeah. What are the odds that everything would go wrong with who he?
That's the irony of the film.
Yeah, the irony.
And he makes his way to the front door.
The Japanese water pond and bridge.
Don't you love that? I like the landscaping there a little bit.
Yeah.
I used to go to a Japanese. It's a Benihana now. Benihanas are everywhere, but it used to be called the Samurai before it was Benihana.
Yeah.
Actually, even when it was Benihana, they still had it.
Yeah.
Inside they had and I know you've never been there with me, right? But
no.
they had a little fake creek, and they had one of those little Japanese bridges going over. It was so cool.
I think that's cool.
I want that.
I've always wanted that in my house, like the party, Peter Sellers.
The party. Oh, we got to do that one. Now that's a good one. We're gonna just have Peter Sellers month.
But they had that stream going all the way through the house, the middle of that. That would be awesome. I would love that.
His shoe. Wasn't it his shoe?
Yes. He went to go get the poop off of it or something.
Yes.
And it fell off and started wandering down the.
Is that on
Look
Blu-ray?
at this guy.
Do you know who? Okay, well, he's knocking on the door of the house.
Yeah.
We see the writer again at the same table, different typewriter, typing away. He's in a wheelchair.
And his wife ain't there.
His wife's not there, but there's a big muscle-bound guy lifting weights.
And a big...
Do you know who that is?
Too small size Speedo.
It's David Prowse, who 6 years later would go on to play Darth Vader.
Oh, no way.
That's David Prowse,
what the heck?
Who I think himself is in a wheelchair now. I think he's sick and he's in a wheelchair. But hey, and you got to notice the clothes that the writer's wearing.
Holy moly!
Bright orange again.
Yes.
And David Prowse plays a character named Julian, who basically just helps the writer. I can't recall his name.
He moves them around and all that stuff.
I think his name is like F. Alexander, actually.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny.
He looks
Alexander.
like F. Alexander. He looks like Darth Vader.
Well, yeah, of course he would.
Anyways, yeah,
he's carrying Alex in all beat up and bloody.
Yes.
And he's like, the police beat me up, sir. And the writer recognizes him. Now, he doesn't recognize him as the attacker that attacked he and his wife in the house because they had masks on.
He recognized him as the guy in the papers.
In the newspapers.
Yeah.
And we're going to come to find that this writer is, whereas the government is conservative and far right, the writer is liberal and far left, very subversive. And
so this is like a group of people who are against the government and
exactly, and want to use Alex to bring the government down. You know, he's like, I've read in the papers everything they've done to you. Yeah. You know, it's so fortunate you've came here. You know, me and my friends are very interested in your case.
But you don't think he recognizes him the way he looks at him and stuff?
Not yet. Not yet. It's going to be that song that's going to do it. He doesn't recognize his voice. He doesn't recognize his face, obviously.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So, and what we're going to find in this film is whether it's this guy who initially is trying to help him, but help him for his own political ends.
Right, exactly.
You know, doesn't so much give a damn about what Alex has done or his victims or even what they've done to him. They want to use him for their political purposes.
Although this old guy is very psychotic.
Well, you know, after his he was traumatized after his.
I know.
And whereas towards the end of the movie, the government also wants to use Alex for their political ends. You know, to keep them in power.
Poor Alex.
So he becomes a plaything.
We need a Clockwork Orange too.
Oh, God, no.
Anyways, go ahead.
But yeah, that's basically
what, and then he's having an orgasm.
And you think about it, it's even though they're at two, and this reflects on today's society, where you have two opposing ends of the political spectrum. It seems like there's no in between anymore. There's just this and that. Yeah. But they're, I want to say, you know, maybe their ideologies are different, but the way that they get about to doing things is exactly the same way, and that's how I feel things
get about.
Sorry. But that's kind of like the way it is here. I mean, you know, we're in an election cycle, and, you know, you get a new boss, and it's going to be the same as the old boss. And I don't care what any of you say. I don't care who's friggin' elected. It's all the same. It's all the same game. It's all the same politics. It doesn't matter. They're all up there with a suit and tie, and they're all the same. They're all the same.
That's why I don't talk politics. I put it on the back shelf.
That's as much as I am going to tell people.
Yeah.
New boss is same as the old boss, and I don't really give a rat's ass what you say because that's what we've got.
Exactly. And, but anyways, they
takes him upstairs to let him wash up, get a bath.
Yes, gets him warmed up and in the bathtub. And
the writer is on the phone with his other subversive friends. You know, we got to come over here. You know,
putting a plan together. And
you know, we've seen this happen in other countries. You know, but you know, sooner or later we're going to be on the brink of totalitarianism. He says, or fascism. He says. So. And all the while he's on the phone, Alex is in the bathtub relaxing. Again, you know, he's had a rough day. He's had a rough 2 weeks. And he doesn't quite remember where he's at or what he's done. Fortnight. Yeah, a rough fortnight. Yeah. And he's in the bathtub, you know, washcloth is over his eyes. He's just, you know.
He's finally enjoying the nice warm bath.
He's having a nice moment.
And he starts to sing. Singing in the rain.
Just singing in the rain. And the writer's on the phone, but by the time he hangs up the
writer's on the phone. No one is home. Alex getting clean and he's gonna get... Well, I don't know.
It was good, man. I love when you freestyle.
Freestyling.
And he hangs up the phone and he starts to hear the singing in the rain. And now he knows.
Yes, his face.
Now he knows who it is. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like they have a scene from below, looking up at him when he's in the wheelchair.
Yes, he goes
and
to
he's listening to it, and he's just like he just absolutely can't. Like, man, his mind is blown.
Yeah, he flips out.
Absolutely cannot believe
having a panic attack or something.
That this man is in his house again.
The bathroom door is just right off the side to where he's typing. And there you go. There's the scene where the eyes are just... He's possessed.
Right. I mean, well, I mean,
eyes are up in the head.
Imagine imagine that.
Imagine dreaming of this.
What if you could take the government down that you're so against, but you have to help the person that ruined your life?
Amen.
And he ain't going to do that. He's going to get revenge.
Oh, yeah.
And the next scene is Alex all clean as a whistle eating some spaghetti.
Nice robe, and he's sitting at the table, glass table, eating the spaghetti
and meatballs.
Yeah.
And you got to love Julian. And, I mean, this guy is strong as hell. He's actually carrying the writer in the wheelchair down a flight of steps, I guess you could say. So, I mean, we know David Prowse was a bodybuilder, but damn.
Yeah, he was. He carried him all the way down those steps.
There's no harness on that because it's all one shot.
Oh, he really did it, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing you got to understand. It's all one shot, and, they're both wearing kind of orangey shirts.
I mean, I can do that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I'd get a hernia. Maybe. But anyways, yeah. I can't believe that's David Prowse, yeah.
Absolutely.
I missed his name over the IMDb.
It's all right.
But I did look and glance it over.
That's what you got me for.
But yeah,
when this is Patrick McNee, the writer, and he was in when we did Vincent Price Mask of the Red Death.
Oh, okay.
He was in Mask of the Red Death. He was another shady character. Always plays a shady character in some of those movies. So. So he's sitting there, and all of a sudden, the temperature in the room goes way down. I think, Julian's on one side, like this,
folding his arms,
and the writers are there. Food, all right. And
because he's so worked up.
Yeah,
that
he's not hiding it real good.
He can't control himself at all.
Try the wine, and just the way he's acting. Will you join me? No, my health doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
And at first he's, looks at the bottle. Very good brand, sir.
First thing I would think is they're going to poison me.
And he's looking, lovely color. Smells good too.
And he takes one little sip, and he goes, okay.
Okay, tastes like wine.
So then he guzzles it all down.
Yeah, it takes. Dude.
I know, I'd be sipping it.
Yeah, it's just a tiny little...
But I guess it doesn't really matter anyway.
Well, when you're a young punk, there you go.
Yeah.
And, thinks it's okay. Have another glass!
Yeah,
pours him another glass.
He almost looks in the wheelchair here like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm-hmm.
The old guy that was with the...
Dr. Scott.
Yeah.
Dr. Everett Scott.
Yeah, when he was over
Great podcast. If you like our singing, watch that one.
Yes, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
In stereo.
Yes.
I love that movie.
Oh, the music alone.
Yes.
Rocky Horror Picture Show, great. But he eventually, and you gotta love the painting in the back. What is that? That's folk art.
It looks like something a 3-year-old did, man. It looks like someone took their stool and just...
Ted, that's what folk art is, man.
Oh, just with stool instead of paint?
It's stool. Colored poop.
Colored poop.
If you can get chicken or yellowish poops.
Okay.
Who would do the orange poop? Maybe a baby that just ate carrots.
Yeah.
So you can color the palette from poop.
I guess you could.
But anyways, folk art is you can get millions of dollars for some giant folk art tapestries and stuff. They're not the greatest looking things at all. But anyways, that's
folk art. There's your little art lesson.
Yes, our PBS moment.
There you go.
Ding.
From us to you.
Ding. So
knowledge is power. Sorry, I'm popping a zit on my back.
Oh God!
Sorry, I'm
probably on my poster.
Better than have one on my tit, man. Those tit zits hurt, man.
Can you imagine getting one right on the nipple?
And you never got one there.
That torture.
If any of you ever had one in the talkbacks, let us know.
Anyways, this guy's face is getting so red.
Oh, God, yeah. And he starts bringing up his wife.
Imagine having white hair and getting a burnt all over.
Right. Now, we have to remember
you go right.
Burnt hair.
I'm trying to make you not remember what you're going to say.
I know.
Go ahead.
We have to remember that when Alex first got brought in, he recognized the writer.
Mm-hmm.
But he knows that the writer didn't recognize him. And then the singing got him to recognize him.
Yeah.
But, the writer mentions his wife at the dinner table, and Alex says, oh, is she here? And he's like, no, she's dead! And, he mentions that
unfortunate
the doctors told me it was pneumonia, but I knew what it was. She was a victim of the system, a victim of the age. And, he blames Alex for it, even though evidently the rape did not cause her to die.
Right.
Because it was some years later. It was a couple years later. Or 6 months later or something like that.
Pneumonia, whatever, but he said it wasn't that. But
she wasn't raped to death.
But the doorbell rings, and the other fascists, or whatever you want to call them.
Hey, whether you're extreme on one end or extreme on the other, it doesn't matter. You're still a fascist.
Yeah, they're coming in to do their political, whatever.
They're interested. Together. But see, they, now
there's a plan in motion.
Right, now I don't think at this point that they know what the writer knows. Because, without a doubt, Alex has been drugged. It hasn't taken effect yet, but that wine was drugged.
Yes.
And a couple comes in, they start asking him some questions. They say, we're interested in your case. We want to know more about you and what the government did to you. So she starts asking him one of the ladies starts asking him some questions about what they've heard in the news. And
this is where he spills the beans about everything.
Well, yeah, well, she's asking him, do you feel suicidal? And he's like, I feel depressed. I feel like, something bad's going to happen at any moment.
Yeah. Basically, like, I don't feel that great.
I don't feel like I want to snuff it right now, but, I don't got much hopes for the future.
Yeah.
And she asks him about the music, and he mentions that, she says, was it all music?
And if he didn't mention that, though...
Well, I mean,
they would have got him?
They could have done something else, I suppose. But this gave them the inspiration on how to torture him to death.
Yeah.
And he said only, the Ninth Symphony by Beethoven. And I like when she starts to write it down. He's like, that's Ludwig van B-E-E.
Yes.
Like, he's so into Beethoven. He's like, you better make sure you spell his name right.
Yes. And he's looking right down at everything.
Like, if any of you mention Kubrick's name in the talkbacks here, you better spell it correctly, or I'm going to correct each and every one. Now everyone's going to spell it wrong.
I'm going to spell it wrong.
So I have to go in there and comment. Don't make me have to go in and comment on you.
Kubrick.
I've been doing it a little bit more now. I should go back to the early ones and just comment.
Why not?
No one commented on any of them.
No, it's good you commented.
I try. I try to be part of it.
Well, the bigger we get and the more dedicated watchers.
But we are the biggest. We're the biggest horror movie podcast on this day at this time slot.
Yes, we are.
So, I mean, F all the others, man. We're the best. Am I offending people when I say that? All the people that, help us out and all that?
Hell no.
Yeah, because, we're not going to forget you guys.
We are who we are.
When we're on TV someday.
Yeah.
When we're on the radio or talk show or... they bring back the late night movie with the live audience, like Big Chuck and Little John, and when we can do that. Remember when they used to have the live audience?
Oh yeah,
that was so great.
I want to get a nice big set over there where we got all that room.
Yes, our old dungeon.
But yeah,
this was our old dungeon. Then we went to the new dungeon. Now we're back to the old dungeon.
Yeah. But I can make quite a cool set over there if I wanted to.
Like the Merv Griffin show?
Yeah.
Maybe we could go behind this TV studio. Maybe there's some old set pieces out there we could steal.
Oh, jeez.
Merv Griffin.
But anyways, let's get back to
as the lady's asking him questions, he mentions, I feel very low in myself, and I feel that at any time something terrible is going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Immediately. Head goes face first in the spaghetti.
Yes, face down.
And when the writer lifts him up and he's got meat sauce stuck in his nose, it's so gross.
Yeah, it's not red. It's
you know what?
It's beefy.
Yeah, it's beefy-roni.
Yeah.
And
it's not a good red sauce.
Maybe the two people did know what was going on. Because they didn't react at all to him.
No, and they're there right after, almost immediately when he wakes up.
So I take that back.
Thank you.
Hey, I made a mistake once in a row. And so they must have been in on what was going on with the writer.
Yeah.
So Alex wakes up in a spare bedroom upstairs and immediately feels sick.
Yes.
Because right below them in the snooker room...
Snooker,
yeah.
The billiards room.
But in England they call it snooker. And I only know that from watching Todd Margaret.
That's right.
Snooker!
Todd Margaret.
If you haven't watched the incredible... What is it? The increasingly poor decisions of Todd Margaret.
Yeah.
What a great show. David Cross.
Yes.
Love David Cross.
From Arrested Development.
Yes. Tobias.
Yes.
But they've got speakers pointed straight up and they're blasting a really weird rendition of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The music. I mean, let's talk about the music for a second.
Because he wakes up in this room that's an extra room and the door's locked and everything like that.
Yeah, he can't get out. And
I think they meant for him to, whatever. Okay, go.
Of course, yeah, because the window ain't locked.
Yeah.
But he's banging his head. What about
the music?
Well, just that the type, Kubrick always chooses.
This guy's so strange.
Oh yeah, he's looking up there. He's so giddy with glee,
and they're all just waiting.
Yeah,
even Prowse.
Yep, and the other guy's just throwing snooker balls across the table.
It's like you can snap a picture of that right there.
Yeah, it is a Kodak moment.
Yeah.
And but Kubrick has always used, for the most part, in what I consider, Kubrick the artist movies, previously recorded music. He's not had like a score, like had John Williams score in my movie.
Yeah,
he's always used other music, and in this one, it's a lot of Rossini and Beethoven. There's more Rossini in this movie than Beethoven. But all the music is like recorded on like the old Moog synthesizer. Yeah. So it's got a little bit of a. That was new then, and I remember I used to have a Star Wars soundtrack that was all the Moog Orchestra. It was all on that synthesizer, the whole soundtrack. And
cool.
This is so all the classical music is performed on that type of a synthesizer. So it gives it a little bit of a futuristic feel, but a little unearthly feel, a little kind of like outside of it kind of feel to it, and I think that's neat. And basically, that's enough I was going to say. But Alex is banging us on the floor. Stop! Turn it off! Turn it off!
Yeah, to the point that he can't take it.
Opens the window and he
crawls up, holding his ears,
and he's narrating, saying, "All I could think about was, snuffing it." He's like, just a moment of pain and then nothing.
Yeah. And
he does. He dives out the window, and there's a cool rollover, like you see the camera do like a flip.
Yeah.
And what they did is they took a camera and put it like in some kind of like plastic type ball. And they threw it out the window to get that effect.
Really? Okay.
And of course, Kubrick's not going to just do one take. The camera didn't break, and they were able to do it like 6 times before the camera broke.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, they threw that sucker out there 6 times just to get that literally.
And whoever's in charge of the money is probably going, "Oh man."
The movie only cost $2.2 million, whereas the movie he did before that. Kubrick didn't. I mean, he worked on the cheap, really.
Yeah.
He lived in England. He filmed after, I think, 2001: A Space Odyssey. He filmed all of his films in England. Okay. He never he would rarely leave his home country. Didn't even. Yeah. Not that he wouldn't leave home. He wasn't a recluse. People said he was a recluse, kind of like a J.D. Salinger, but not so much. He had people over all the time. But even just like case in point, talking about Kubrick movies, Full Metal Jacket, which is a Vietnam movie, was filmed in England. They imported palm trees.
No way.
To make it, because he wasn't going to, what do you think, he's going to go to the Philippines? No, we're going to film it right here in England, just bring me some palm trees, and I'll make it look like...
He did it on his property because he never wanted to
do it. He didn't do it on his property. But, I mean, I think he was always within, I think he always, was in driving distance to be able to get back home at night.
Wow.
I don't think Kubrick was the guy to sleep in a trailer.
Wow.
So yes, Alex, the narration comes back on after a fade to black.
Yes.
And it says, "But I did not snuff it. Oh my humble friend."
Wakes up in the hospital, all wired up and broken.
Head cast, arm cast, leg cast,
everything.
And I like how coming out every end.
I like how all the lights are off and you can hear like 2 people getting it on.
Well, yeah, because first Alex starts moaning, oh, and you hear a woman, yeah. Or you do it better than me.
No. And the lady and the doctor and nurse run out.
Well, see, I work in a hospital. This is the kind of stuff that happens. And
really, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the curtain pulls and a big titty nurse comes out. And she still has her hat on and her, "Oh, doctor, the patient's waking up." And, she's no brassiere, no, she's just putting that back on. And
he's finally woken up.
Doctor's pulling his pants back up. I mean...
What's that say? Eat me?
Yes, it's a box of dates, and it looks like a big phallic symbol. Eat me. Oh, absolutely. But, this is like where, they show some flashes of newspapers, government causes, Alex to try to, attempt suicide. Yeah. So the government's taken a big hit in popularity, and, people are predicting by the next election cycle they're going to be right out the door.
Yeah.
Alex's parents come to visit. Yeah. And he even says, what makes you think you're welcome here? And, they basically apologize to him, saying we didn't know.
Yeah.
We had no idea what the
Which
government
is sad
did
now
to you.
Because you're going to find out from this point forward that he's kind of backtracked in the whole
he was
experiment, diversion therapy.
Well, I think that's what they're trying to... I think that's what people think. I'm not...
Isn't working no longer.
Well...
Because this lady comes in, she's got the purple hair.
They say... Just to, talk about the breakdown of the family, the father actually even acknowledges that, maybe some of this was our fault too. Maybe, But, so some time has passed, he's got some of the head casts and stuff off.
Yeah.
And yes, a psychologist comes in with a little computer thing, and she wants to show him some pictures. And I think some people kind of interpret this as sort of him being deprogrammed or something like that, but I don't think you could Well... See, what they do is she shows him pictures. And she says, it's like two people having a conversation. Here's what one person's saying. You tell me what the other person would say. He's not the one actually doing it. He's like putting himself in someone else's place. This other person would say that. I'm not doing it. So like when someone says, here's some eggs. What would you like to do with them? He says, well, the other person would say, I'd like to smash them. Yeah. He's not actually thinking a violent thought. He's thinking what the other person... I think there's like a fine line in his conditioning, where we talked about the sex part of it. He's not actually doing the violence. He's just interpreting what someone else would do. And I think that's a little difference.
I don't know. I see it totally different.
I don't think he can...
you see it in his face, his expression, his happiness as he's talking about...
Because he's found a way to do it. He can... It's almost like he's got a way to think violent thoughts without getting sick.
Or this recuperation process he's got going on here, he's found out that this kind of stuff isn't making him sick no more.
Well...
And he's just letting it loose.
Possibly, because there's certainly... there's
certainly
theories out there about that.
Yeah.
Because...
That's how I feel, though. I mean, look at it.
I don't feel like he can be completely deprogrammed. Maybe, and I could go along with this as well, is like you just said there too.
I mean, I believe
the treatment doesn't completely work. Now, I'd like to see what if he tried to get up and go rape this doctor right here. Would he get sick?
Yeah.
If he tried to do something really bad, would he get sick?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think the conditioning just necessarily wears off.
No,
but maybe there's little ways he can get around it in some way. Like this.
I feel like that, and I see where you're trying to make an argument for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
think the conditioning's gone.
I think it's completely gone, and I think even the way it ends at the very end here, when we'll talk about...
We're going to talk about
Okay, that. I think it's all just part of the... It's gone. He doesn't feel that way anymore. I really do think that.
I don't know. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of chatter,
and you see that
if you try to. And I did today, kind of look up, see what other people thought, and there's a lot of him trying to commit suicide does not null the condition.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, I understand that,
and her showing him these slides doesn't take away the conditioning that his body has learned.
No, I don't think that even has.
So nothing that they're showing you in the film
is deprogramming.
No. So the only other option is that maybe it just doesn't work that way. Maybe it works for a while, and then maybe it goes away.
The severe landing he had, which hit his head, broke it. I mean,
I don't think the fall had anything to do with it. You could make the argument, but I don't.
Then why just like that is it?
Well, because I question whether.
Because even when look at how he's acting with the nurse.
Mm-hmm.
The governor's going to come up to him and start feeding him.
Right.
And all he does is he's very sarcastic.
Yes, he is.
And he's...
Yep, open his mouth. Because the minister from who we've always seen comes to visit him.
He's his old self, Ted.
Well, he's always been his old self. I mean, his attitude, his
But from the moment he got out of the prison till jumping out of that window, there was no sign of the joy in his face that he's got now in this hospital.
But now, he's got this minister here, and this minister's kissing his ass. And he's basically got the world. He can ask for anything and get it.
Mm-hmm.
And, even gets the head of the, not the head of the government, but the minister of the government to feed him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. He's like,
give me another little bite.
I suffered the tortures of the damned, sir. Tortures of the damned.
Yes, he did.
And, the minister's name's Frederick is saying, we kind of need your help. You know, if you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back. You know, we did a very
Yeah.
wrong to you. You know, we didn't mean for you to get hurt. We didn't mean for any of this to happen. You know, we took recommendations based on, you know, people told us things, and those recommendations are wrong. He even mentions the writer. They basically just took him and locked him up. I mean, he's like, he's locked away now. You know? And the guy's never going to see the light of day again. I mean, he's like a political prisoner.
And they're just, because they want to look good, they're just letting Alex just be. He's free.
They want his help. They want him to basically come forward and say that the treatment worked.
Right.
That, you know, the government didn't hurt me. You know, I did this to myself.
Yeah.
Whether he is still conditioned or not, I think is open to interpretation. And, you know, maybe he's found a way to get around it a little bit. I almost feel that way, especially with the final scene, which we'll talk about.
That's a big leap, though.
Well,
that's a pretty good...
Well, we found a way to get around the sex part.
You need to dedicate 20 minutes. That's right.
Okay, and the end scene definitely, I think, confirms what I said there. But, and I'll talk about that. But, you know, they basically, they're going to give him a job in the government. You know, basically like a do-nothing job.
Right.
You basically, you get a paycheck.
Yeah.
You'll get a paycheck from us.
Yes.
And all you have to do is just, you know, take some pictures of me and say that the treatment works and that we did the right thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was this other person, this writer who caused you to do this.
Yes.
And the government, we've taken him and we've locked him away because he's insane. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he thinks Alex did something to him a long time ago, and then we've locked him up.
Well, the very end scene...
And they bring in music. They play music for him. And, you know, just hearing the music again just gets him, you know... And someone's going to have to tell me, I don't know that that's the Ninth Symphony that they're playing. Or maybe, I don't know if it's part of it. I don't know. I don't know Beethoven as well to know if... It's not the parts of the Ninth Symphony that we've heard already. But they're playing him music.
Would have to be.
And,
there's no point of playing anything else but that.
But then that would cause him to be...
Exactly.
But how did he get deconditioned? They would have to do something to decondition him.
That's something that
and I think this is open to interpretation.
Well, because even when they show which you'll talk about here, the very last scene where there's basically a woman he's having sex with.
Right.
But he closes his eyes,
mm-hmm.
He looks up, and he's got joy on his face.
He's listening to the music.
But if he wasn't deconditioned,
deprogrammed
or whatever, wouldn't he start... I would...
He's having a thought.
Stanley Kubrick should go, that's when you start burping again.
Think about it. Okay, so yes, as he's listening to the music, he's having one of those visions that he has. And it's him laying in the snow, having sex with one woman, and there's a bunch of well-dressed people standing around applauding him. Well-dressed, sophisticated people. Okay. And the tone in his voice is very sarcastic, if you really listen to it. Mm-hmm. And he says, I was cured, all right. And that's the end of the film. But let's look at the sex scene for a second that's going on here. Number one, he's being applauded by society. I think the people standing around
because
him,
he's going along with the government.
But he's going along with the government, and he's going to be their little whatever. And the sex that he's having in the fantasy there is not violent. The woman is in a position of dominance. She's on top. Yet he's kind of holding her wrists a little bit. It's not violent, but he's still taking a little bit of control. So I think he's kind of learned I can still, you know, even though, let's say if he was conditioned still, mm-hmm. there's still ways I can get my rocks off and do things. You know, I just got to play ball a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you got to give it. But that means something. That scene is not there just for the hell of it. You know, that scene right here, and here it is. I don't know if we'll be able to show it here. Probably not. Mm. But
I know. All society is all that stuff. But that's not.
But they're older society. They're not new society.
Right.
They're kind of dressed almost like 18th century.
But that still looks like kind of a rough little thing going on there. It doesn't look like the most pleasant.
The woman doesn't look like she's having a bad time. She's not trying to get away.
It was so quick, though. It's hard to interpret who was really dominant by the whole struggle kind of
I think
going
the
on,
fact
grabbing
that
of
she's
the
on
hands
top,
and this and that.
I think the fact that she's on top shows she's dominant.
I think that what happened...
Because they don't show him doing that in any other... Even during the orgy scene, Alex is in pretty much the dominant position, like missionary or whatever, the whole time. This time the woman's in the dominant position.
I think the end of this movie, I think they brung so many facts out to go against to go with the deprogramming, or something happened to make
I don't see any facts.
To make that programming go away. The bringing in the music, the way he's acting with the doctor, the way he's talking to the psychologist with the
but there's a way to
pictures,
get around that though, because he's not the one actually doing it. He's not the one saying. He's not the one actually.
So you think he really went through a big process of figuring all this out while he was in the hospital here?
No,
it's impossible.
I don't think he's deprogrammed. I don't think he's deprogrammed.
Okay, well, I guess this is a big controversy with people.
Go.
Although I don't.
And tell us what you think. I don't, because when the psychologist is showing him the pictures, he's not doing anything. He's not trying to be violent. He's just talking. He's talking about what the other person would say.
Oh, I don't see that. I think
it's a fine line.
It sounds like you're trying to make a very good argument for his.
I think it's a fine. I think it's a way to get around it. I think it's a way to get around the condition, just like we said with the sex part. If he had a monogamous relationship with someone and it wasn't a violent act, I think the conditioning would let him do it.
You can, okay, if you want to go that far, I think you're really taking
It's like in Buffy and Angel, man. If Angel had a moment of true happiness when he was having sex, he lost his soul. You didn't watch all of season 2. No. But that's what would happen. He could have sex all he wanted. But if he had a moment of true happiness...
I still think you're taking it way farther than just to prove a point.
But how could he be...
Okay, let's put that away.
We saw how he was programmed. How was he deprogrammed? There has to be a process, and we see no process.
Just like anything, and even I'm talking even in real life.
Unless you just want to say it wears off.
No. If something very, this gives people panic, post-traumatic stress disorder and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, a violent act can do that. Okay, so why not? Why can't it cause the opposite effect? Okay, he was programmed to feel all this.
That's
bad.
Not how operant conditioning works.
But falling out of that window in such a violent act, almost dying, could have took him to that brink.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Then let's go to the music. Why bring in those big speakers? And what's the point of that?
Just to play music for him. I think there's plenty to go both ways. I most of the time when I watch this movie as a teenager or whatever, that's what I interpreted. I was cured, all right. Is that they put him back the way he was.
Okay, so
there's that last scene, and I don't now because when I first watched this movie, I wasn't a Kubrick nut, and in my 30s and 40s now, I'm a Kubrick nut, and I love to know everything that he was thinking of when he did it. And now I know that everything meant something. Sometimes, he never put stuff out there. None of his movies are flat out, you can just explain it. And that's what...
Well, that's why I'm wondering why it was so left up in the air at the end there.
I think...
What was he trying to do? Get people to think and continue to think
exactly.
forever?
I mean, if you took a Pavlov dog and beat the hell out of it, would it stop salivating when you ring the bell? I mean...
I think you can get over just about anything.
I mean, from all the scientific evidence, once one of those dogs had been conditioned... I'm not saying a dog is a person. I know they're different. But once operant conditioning was completely in effect and in control, it was there. It was always there.
But I can go back and tell you...
just like when you smell coffee in the morning, you wake up.
I can start going though for real life stuff. If you want to go real deep...
No,
I mean, if we go real deep into... Like, just say somebody who's had been abused by their father their whole life. Okay? Sure. And how is that person ever really going to have a relationship with a man? Okay. But one day, she's older, she falls in love with somebody, and, carries, it can really feel the enjoyment of that love. Even though that sex is associated with what she was tortured with through years of abuse. But yet, her mind connected, hey, I can love somebody and feel this way with this person, even though he's a man.
You're right.
And he's
it's not the same thing. All I'm saying
hey, this is kind of fun. I like the little debate here.
All I'm saying is, in the film, I don't really feel like they showed how he was deprogrammed. I mean, if you want to go on that the traumatic experience deprogrammed him.
Well, I'm
and,
not
and
even
maybe
saying that.
everything that they were doing was checking to see if he was deprogrammed.
I don't think could be, but I don't think he let us know for sure.
No, he didn't, and that's the beauty of Stanley
And how about the
Kubrick.
book? Did anything in the book allude to the end of the movie?
The book has another chapter that is not part of the film.
That's right. Okay.
So we need to talk. I want to talk about that real quick because it doesn't. I mean, I don't want it to influence the thoughts on the movie here.
Right.
And when the book was released in America, the publishers liked it to end right here with "I was cured all right." They didn't like chapter 21, but everywhere else in the world had chapter 21. Kubrick's book that he read didn't have that chapter, and he wrote his screenplay based off of the American version of the book. Later, he read chapter 21 and said, hell with it, I wouldn't have put it in there anyway. I don't like it. But in chapter 21, Alex gets that steady paycheck from the government, works for the government. He's the poster boy for the government. But at night, he's got a new pack of droogs that he goes out with. And again, I don't recall the book saying anything about him being deconditioned, but again, I probably... wasn't I probably haven't read it since the late 90s or something like that, so I haven't read it in a long time. I don't reread
So chapter
books.
21,
but
he went back out and continued on with his...
He was with another big gang of droogs, but
right.
he was like 18 now, and he was losing interest in tall chalking people senseless, and he runs into Pete, his old droog Pete.
Yeah. And
Pete's married, has a family. And Alex starts getting the idea that, this is all kind of boring now. It's not that he doesn't enjoy it, it's just it's boring, and maybe I should just go be a productive member of society. It was almost like Anthony Burgess was trying to say, eventually we all kind of come to that we want to be, a good member of society, and we kind of outgrow those tendencies.
Yeah.
But I don't really agree with that at all. And, if I was making the movie, I would have left it there too. I think that's a much better ending than that.
Well,
chapter.
because he, I could see Stanley Kubrick saying, "I don't want to make it a nice ending like that."
Right.
It goes away from the whole movie. So
leaving it here leaves it more ambiguous.
Right.
And it leaves us, room to wiggle and talk about, was he deprogrammed? Wasn't he deprogrammed? Because he certainly sounds sarcastic at the end. Oh, he's not saying I was cured. He's like, I was cured, all right. I mean, that doesn't, that's like sarcastic, like saying,
And knowing that the way the book ended, too, I mean, that's in Stanley Kubrick's mind. Even though he didn't put it in a movie, he could, say you continued the movie, okay? He continued filming. It's a 3-hour movie, okay? He leaves the hospital, deprogrammed, okay? He joins that new group, okay? Because he's deprogrammed. Right. He thinks, I'm going to go off and start doing
if he had done
everything.
It that way.
Right. If he had done it that way.
But he didn't do it that way.
Right. Because
it sucked.
Right. But to go with the story makes sense. And then, like you say, he's like, after everything I've gone through, prison for 2 years, this and that, 15 to 18, whatever, okay, I think it's time to just go a different way in life.
Nobody would have liked the movie after that.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. But I think Stanley Kubrick knew that in his mind, and I think he ended the movie saying, okay, hey, he's deprogrammed, but he got the better of the government. And so I don't know. I guess we can...
What I know is that Stanley Kubrick is very meticulous. He would have looked up everything about conditioning, and there's plenty of information that shows that he did. I mean, the man has...
But he didn't let you know for sure at the end.
Exactly. I mean, watch the documentary Boxes. He has sheds full of boxes of just notes of things. Before he does what he researches everything. The man is literally, when he did a movie, he is literally an expert on every aspect of what that movie is about. And from what I know of operant conditioning, it's permanent. I don't know of any dogs that have been deprogrammed. Pavlov's experiments were pretty much permanent. Unless you did something to, if you did nothing to intervene. What I'm trying to say is, I shouldn't say permanent. What I should say is, if you didn't do anything to change it, if you left it alone, it would be there.
I think the whole Pavlov's experiment thing is...
But that's what they did to him. They did basically the same thing.
But I think that's not... You're telling me if you program a dog, Pavlov's experiment or whatever, it's going to be permanent and that dog will totally be fine. I don't think that's true.
If you don't change if you don't reprogram it deprogram it.
I think something in society could always snap you back out of it.
I don't know. Because it's not the mind.
Take it from somebody.
But it's not his mind. It's not his mind. It's his body. I mean, if he wanted to snap it out of it, it's his mind. His mind could just say, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. But it's the body. It's the cells of your body that you have absolutely no control over that are reacting that way.
I would say that...
And it has something to do with the medication that they gave. They gave him a medication. I mean, it's not just, hey, we're just going to shoot something to make you feel sick. Oh, right. There's something in that. And I don't know what it was. But, it was an experimental drug. I mean... You don't need that much of an experimental drug to make you feel nauseous. I mean, you take too much of any medicine, it's going to make you feel nauseous. Yeah. They could have shot Pepto-Bismol in his ass, and he probably could have got, felt nauseous maybe. You take too much of anything, you get the opposite effect. Something that's supposed to prevent nausea, you take too much of it, you're going to get sick. So, here we are at 2 hours and 35 minutes. Did you stay with us the whole time? Because the podcast is longer than the movie?
Hey, a Mad World was... 3 hours.
Just close to about 3 hours. Yeah. So our second longest one. Yeah. And you got a little debate at the end here because I'm not 100% convinced that he was deprogrammed. Yeah, okay. But I went through most of my life thinking that he was. But the last couple of times I've watched this, and I've gotten pretty heavily into Kubrick and what his thought processes during making films. So that's what I do. When I get into something, I get into something. Right. And
he gets into a box of cupcakes. He gets into a box of cupcakes. Yes, I do.
And, when I get into a filmmaker, I like to know everything. I like to know what they think and
what your info, like. That's for sure.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
So...
but this is one,
that I'm just not sure. It's like any of his films, there's a little bit to go either way. I think I've got 2001: A Space Odyssey all figured out. But someone might come along and completely blow my mind with something new. To me, I think I know what it's all about, but... I think I know.
Even Eyes Wide Shut ends abruptly and very. So.
I used to think one way about Eyes Wide Shut, but then learning a couple other things about Kubrick, I know that I feel like it's something else, Illuminati, and there's a lot more going on.
There's things in that movie that throw that.
And I've heard about scenes that were cut out that. And we should do Eyes Wide Shut one day because that's
maybe we will.
Yeah, he was. Did he die or was he killed?
So, do we say what we were going to do next week for sure?
We want to do... I think we're thinking about doing a David Lynch, our first David Lynch movie, Blue Velvet. Yeah. Which isn't necessarily, your typical type horror movie.
It's but psychological
if you've seen Blue Velvet, I feel like it is a horror film, but it deals more with the horror that's underneath the wholesome goodness of a regular town. It's about what lies underneath. And there's some pretty horrific characters, dangerous, horrific characters in that movie. Oh, yeah. Okay, and it shows the ugly side of even, people who you think are good. And I know a few things about that film and things that were filmed that were cut out and things like that. And I think we can have a good time with that movie.
Oh, yeah.
So
Blue Velvet next week, yeah.
Blue Velvet, David Lynch film. Not a straight-up blood-curdling horror movie, but... No. I think one of his more accessible movies.
And then we'll do The Producers, I think, after that.
Oh, man. You guys are going to hate us, man. Like 3 weeks straight. No Jason, Freddy, shit like that.
Well, that's fine. Well, we don't want
Get used to it.
But anyways.
Because I also like the cult movies, and we love our comedy movies.
Yeah.
But...
no, we're switching it up a bit. Doesn't mean we're not doing horror.
Yeah, I think we need to do... I don't know, just take like a little breather here, just to kind of expand our horizons a little bit.
Without a doubt.
And Blue Velvet, I've seen that on the big screen. I saw Clockwork Orange on a big screen. It was so great to see an actual film print. What they're going to show next week is just going to be like the Blu-ray blown up on the screen.
I hate that.
But I've seen a film print of it. It was a rainy Saturday night, I remember. And I was one of like 5 people in the theater. They showed Full Metal Jacket and... Remember the old Yorktown Theater? It's a church now.
Oh, yeah.
And before it closed down, they were showing old movies. Mm-hmm. And they showed Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, and I was... it was dank and moldy inside, the old seats.
They're all dripping water.
And they showed a print of The Exorcist before they closed, and it was flawless.
Really?
It was like... Wow. You would think for a movie from the 70s it would be scratches. Like they showed Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, and it stuttered, like when the film skips or whatever.
Depends what copy they get. You know?
Well, they don't screen Exorcist very much.
You can get 16 millimeters from the the 30s and stuff that are just flawless.
Yep, if they've been well cared for. And
This
print was, wherever they had gotten it, even the Clockwork Orange print as well was flawless. Just really great to sit there in an old theater like the 70s, a dank old grindhouse feeling theater, and watch that film. So I'm very happy that we did one of my favorite films. It was on my top 13, if you remember, we did our list. And
I love it too. I'm glad I was able to watch this again because it's taken this show to pull some movies back out that I really want to watch, and this is one of them.
Kubrick was a genius, and he is not.
Agreed. And I gotta watch Eyes Wide Shut again real quick.
His films are not all that you just see. There's more there, and everything means.
And that's what I love about movies like this. You can dive deeper into it. I mean,
I would start with Dr. Strangelove. I mean, I'd watch all of his films if you can.
Yeah.
But I would start with Dr. Strangelove and work my way through, and then if you like that, then go back to his earlier films. Yeah. But I think Dr. Strangelove started it, and 2001: A Space Odyssey is where the artist really comes through.
Yes.
And that's where we see the genius start.
Yes.
It's Dr. Strangelove.
So until next week, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes here.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
We will let you go.
Bye-bye, droogies.
Later.